Welcome, everyone, to the third episode of the podcast. And, I'm just going to, quit beating around the bush. I'm going to go straight to it. This is, in some ways, depending on how you would count it, actually episode 4.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate Audacity.
Yep. That was painful in every which way. Oh, God.
Yeah.
So we recorded this before. We had finished it. We had talked for a very long time about some very interesting things. And then we went to go save our recordings and,
my Audacity decided to stab me in the back brutally with no remorse and leave with all my earthly possessions and my wife. It
was really heartbreaking to listen to be honest.
Yeah, no, it was
the desperation in your voice. Oh. But anyway,
we move on. I have exacted my revenge upon Audacity. There was a whole Liam Neeson style movie that happened, and I am now CEO Audacity. Anyway, yes, we have a guest.
I am here for the first time ever. I've never spoken to either of you before, ever. Thank you for having me again. I mean, not again.
for the first time ever. It's a pleasure.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it.
Would you like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and the stuff that you make?
Sure. I make YouTube videos about cars. Surprise, surprise. Mostly old racing cars. I am at Automobilistic on YouTube, if you don't know who I am, which is fair enough. Yeah, old racing cars.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
Well, should we jump straight in for the first time?
Yes.
Into...
at some point, there were parts of this presentation that were supposed to be surprises.
Yeah.
We're going to give you our best stage performances as best we can.
Well, there's been new developments since then. We did have to take a few days to have a breather, so there's been some new developments.
Yes, there's been some new things that we're not going to talk about last time, and I've done a little bit of research, so I know a little bit more about the things that we're talking about. So,
good.
You know,
I'm going to be silently doing YouTuber thumbnail face throughout the entire thing, as though I've got no idea what's going on.
And then when something happens that you're somewhat nonplussed about, you can do YouTube shrug face.
Yes.
Yep. Those are the only two emotions available.
Hopefully I don't have to do YouTuber apology face after this.
Oh, God.
We start off the next episode with...
Yeah.
The YouTuber apology sigh.
You are sans your famous orange glasses. You're wearing a depressed hoodie. You've got your dog / cat conveniently in camera.
You start the video off by pressing the record button. All of the little tricks to make you seem like less of a demon.
We know your secrets. That's actually how we got him on the podcast. It's blackmail.
Yeah, it is. So you better do well.
Please let my family go. You promised you would last time. It's not my fault I didn't record.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but we didn't get the result we were hoping for, so they've had to stay down there.
This is a results-based deal here, you know.
Yeah.
It's not our fault you didn't read the contract. I'm sorry. Anyway, with all that, we like to start off this podcast with a section called Show and Tell. I'm going first because that's the order we have the slides in. And again, this was going to be a little bit of a quiz, at least for the first two here, where I'd say, oh, which car companies do you think this one's for? I can't do that now.
No.
Well, luckily for you, I've got an incredibly short memory.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So sort of my hyperfixation as of recent has been sort of these large flagship engines developed by car companies that never ended up making it to mass production. So, example number one, I've got these in increasing order of insanity. So, example number one, top left, is a 4-litre V8 developed by Saab.
Oh, it's so cool. I wish they'd made it.
Yes.
I mean,
it would have been fantastic.
Indeed. So, on a technical level, this is essentially 2 Saab H straight 4s fused together with a custom aluminium block so that it doesn't weigh a ton because the H engine had a... oh, hit my mic. Shit. Fuck you. Fuck you, editing me. Fix that. So on a technical level, this is 2 Saab H engines fused together to make a quad-cam 32-valve 4-litre V8 with roughly 280 horsepower, if I remember correctly.
You know what has just occurred to me about this engine? So it's based on the Saab, like, inline 4, which is just the Triumph slant 4.
Yes.
But with 2 of them. But that's the same, like, general concept that made the Triumph V8 from the Stag.
Correct.
So, technically, we've had 2 different companies using the same basic engine and then trying to create a V8 out of it.
Well, the thing with Triumph and the Slant 4 was the reason it was a Slant 4, slanted at 45 degrees, was because they always intended to make a V8 out of it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was like an always intention thing. I thought they were just being goofy.
Oh, I mean, considering that they always intended to make a V8 out of it, and then made one of the worst V8s that the world has ever seen.
It sounds so good, but it's such a terrible engine. It's a real shame.
No, but fun fact: they were actually Saab were intending on using the Triumph V8 in the Saab 99.
Oh wow!
But they didn't do that. Firstly, because it was the mid-70s and oil crisis.
Yeah.
Secondly, because Saab had intelligent engineers and realized that it was a hunk of junk. And thirdly, they decided to go towards turbos instead.
I mean, it makes sense.
Which raises the question, if they, as we know, Saab were obsessed with turbos and efficiency and all that, why did they bother making a V8 in the first place? Firstly, America.
Yeah, fair enough.
Americans love a V8, and you can't really knock them for that. You can knock Americans for a lot of things. You can't knock them for liking a V8.
Mm-hmm.
And the second reason was because Saab, strictly speaking, didn't make it. It was their Finnish partner firm, Valmet. Valmet made a couple of other custom things. So they did all like the Saab convertibles, I think, was Valmet.
I always thought it was ASC who did those.
Oh, okay, not all of them. When Saab realized, oh wait, we could just make a lot of money by doing the convertible ourselves, they got Valmet to do it.
That makes sense. Yeah,
that makes sense.
So Valmet, of course, being Finnish, little bit more of a crazy streak than the Swedes over at Trollhättan.
Yeah.
They made this V8 largely under the noses of the Saab executives because they knew that the Saab executives wouldn't be happy with them making a V8 because the company was all about efficiencies and turbo. So they covertly, I did some more reading about this, they made enough parts for 10 and fully made 5.
Oh. Where are they now?
One of which ended up in a car, and that car does still exist and is in a museum somewhere.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, I guess we have a heist to plan.
Indeed.
I want it.
In
Episode 4.
I went to Finland and stole a car, brackets, and things got worse.
Yeah. You make a great video out of it. Oh, you would also go to prison.
Unfortunately. But anyway, this test car was famously part of, well, as famous as this story gets, part of the sort of the legend around the development of the engine, because as part of testing, rumor has it a number of speeding tickets was incurred, at least one. And after they'd sort of tested it, realized it was really good, they contacted the executives over in Sweden and said, "Okay, we made a V8, but it's really, really good. Come over to Finland, we'll show it to you."
It's like when you you're going to be in trouble for something, so you plan out exactly how you're going to say it. I bet that phone call was like written down, like the script of what they were going to say. Like, I know you're going to be mad, but just hear me out, okay? We made a V8. I know you're mad, but it's really, really good. I promise you, it's really, yeah. They were just desperately trying. Please don't sack us all, thanks.
And so the Swedish executives apparently were not very enthused by this, but agreed to go over and have a look, under the presumption that this was a sort of hastily thrown together hulk of a car held together with zip ties and duct tape. They landed in Finland, were driven in a Saab 9000 from the airport to the factory very quickly. This car was quite fast, and the person had a lot of vigor driving it, shall we say.
Yeah.
At which point, they arrived at the Valmet facility and said, "Okay, great, where's this terrible test rig you have put together?" At which point, they then pointed at the car that they'd been driven from the airport in. So, yes, it's all quite a exciting story. And got surprisingly very close to production. And then in the year of our Lord 1989, Saab was bought by General Motors.
Oh, I just threw
and
up in my
everybody
mouth.
cried.
Yes, indeed. So why are you making this aluminium block 32 valve V8 when you can use this fantastic V6 that we're making in Liverpool?
The home of all great engines.
So yes, unfortunately we did not get that. But very interesting nonetheless. On the top right, doubtless Cosworth valve cover. This is actually a co-developed project between Cosworth and Volvo. Volvo had their modular engine series, from the Straight 4, Straight 5, and Straight 6. They decided that they wanted to use this modular engine family to make a flagship engine for the then in development S80.
Oh, that would have been
and
so
they
cool.
wanted to make a V10 with it.
Oh, what could have been.
Yeah.
And because this is the S80, that would have been a transverse V10.
Which is just ridiculous. I mean, what just why? I mean, obviously it would have been fantastic. It would have been amazing, but also...
It's the kind of thing that automation would tell you is just too silly to make.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you can't do this. And then they were developing it in real life. I mean, the S80 already, with the transverse inline 6 twin turbo, is pretty cramped in that engine bay and a bit ridiculous. But they thought, no, 4 more cylinders, that's perfect. That's exactly what we need. Oh,
yeah,
man, I love them.
Gotta love them for it, absolutely. So Cosworth, I believe, were contracted to develop the intake system and the valve train, was I think what their job was to do.
Makes
on
sense.
the engine. It made on the test bed. I bought Cosworth's report on this engine. I had to. It wasn't that expensive, but I paid money to get information on this engine because the only information I could find on it that was anywhere on the internet free to see, just on like a forum post, only had that it made 340 horsepower and was 4.3 litres. Didn't even say that it was part... I learned from this report that it was based on the Volvo modular engine. Up until that point, I was working on the assumption that maybe it was based on Cosworth's Formula 1 V10.
Quite possibly, yeah. That seems almost more likely because they never made any V variants of the modular.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
But yes, it's based on the short stroke version of the modular engine family. So it's 83mm bore versus 80mm stroke. And makes, let me remember, yes, 340 horsepower at 7,000 RPM.
Jesus.
That would have been awesome.
So I guess the thing I find a bit bizarre is just the fact that they went straight for a V10, not a V8. The V8 wouldn't have been good enough. They had to go for the full 10 cylinders. But don't quite understand that logic.
I guess they just took it to the largest possible engine they could fit in that space.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm not complaining. A V10 would have sounded driven amazingly.
Oh yeah, because the Volvo straight 5s sound incredible.
Oh, they're so good. Even the D5s sound really good. Like they just have the proper down low grunty warble. It is so good. It's the only one of the few diesel engines I love the sound of. Every time I hear one, I just stop. Volvo they knocked out the park with the modular engines, and it's a shame that now everything they produce with a petrol engine is 2-litre 4-cylinder now, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they have any other engines.
Yeah, no, because even the S90 top of the line engine is a plug-in hybrid assisted twin charge straight four. Got love a twin charge.
That is true. Twin charging is cool, but no replacement for displacement. Raise hell, praise Dale.
Born in the USA.
What the fuck is a kilometer?
Born in Trollhättan.
Actually, Trollhättan is Saab. It was Gothenburg.
I'm going to throw objects at you.
But yes, so the reason we didn't get this Volvo Cosworth V10 is because in 1999, Volvo was bought by a giant, one of those sort of big corporations that's behind everything, and you never really sort of realize that they are, called the Ford Motor Company.
Oh, I hate them.
Which I've realized it's interesting that Ford stopped Volvo collaborating with Cosworth.
Yeah. Or maybe it's like, no, it's my friend. You're not allowed to be friends with them. I'm friends with Cosworth.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
I can only assume, yeah.
It's just a shame. Either way, whatever the reasons, it's sad.
But as you pointed out last, the previous attempts of recording this, it did mean that we got the Yamaha V8 out of it. So not all is lost, I suppose. But yes.
I'm just imagining the alternate universe Noble that ended up with that V10 if they hadn't made the V8.
Because if this is based on the modular engine family, in theory, you could strap the same turbos that were on the R70R onto that.
Yeah.
And make God knows how much power.
I mean, from what I've read, like the naturally aspirated 6-cylinders, to get the twin turbos from the S80, you just attach it and it works, basically. So it's an easy engine family to work with when it comes to swapping parts. So yeah, they could probably very easily make a twin turbo version of that V10 in a Noble, and now I'm sad. I'm deeply sad.
Anyway, well, maybe the next engine might cheer you up. Because...
Yeah.
You know, count the number of intake runners there. There's a V16. You know, like, just... You can't hate a V16. I'm sorry. I just don't think it's possible. So yes, this is a bit more famous. This is the VW Goldfish V16. So named because I think that was the hue of bronze that they painted the prototype car with. But anyway, yes. So this was sort of part of the late 80s, early 90s luxury war between BMW and Mercedes. Basically, each of them was competing to have, the 7 Series versus the S-Class just be sort of the peak limo. And as part of that, BMW developed this engine, which is essentially just the M70. I looked it up. It's the M70 V12. Yeah. With 4 extra cylinders bolted on the end. That does raise the issue that this means this is a 60-degree V16, which isn't an ideal bank angle for a V16. Yeah. But it's a 6.6, 6.7 litre V16. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. It's like, come on.
It's a V16,
The best part of this was that the 7 Series they were testing this in, the bonnet on the 7 Series wasn't long enough. So to make room for the engine, they put the radiator in the back.
Oh god, yeah.
In the boot, and which means it has Testarossa strakes on it.
Yeah.
To direct air to the rear-mounted radiator.
It was they made like one running driving prototype that people have seen, but yes. I don't imagine it got that close to production once they realised the compromises that would be needed.
It's just an absurd amount of cylinders to put in a car that is expected to be used, kind of, it's not a supercar, it's supposed to go in a saloon.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, ridiculous. Amazing, but...
Yes. Also, since the M70 was essentially, at least the engine thought of itself as 2 straight 6s, because it had 2 ECUs, how would the ECU have worked for this? Would it have thought of itself as 2 straight 8s? Because obviously,
I don't even know, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's sort of interesting.
It probably would have just dissociated and forgotten.
What am I?
I just went to go change into 3rd. Unfortunately, my engine has had a crisis and it will no longer work.
Make sure you ask your engine if it's doing okay during times of need. It's always the engines you least expect. But, the other reason they cancelled this was because they were worried it would start an arms race.
Yeah.
With Mercedes, which we will get onto in but a moment. In the meantime, bottom right, an engine I've talked a little bit about in a video before.
Yeah.
Right after VW bought the rights to Bugatti in the late 90s after the EB110 version of the company went bust, they developed 3 cars that they were considering putting into production as a revival of the Bugatti brand.
Yes.
And all these 3 cars shared this same engine, which is a 6.23 litre.
It'll be up on screen, I'm sure.
Yes, no, I'll put corrections up. Fuck you editing me, you do more work than me. But yes, vaguely in that area of displacement, dual overhead cam, 72 valve W18.
Jesus wept.
Absolutely ridiculous. I feel like I've said the word ridiculous a lot while looking at this slide, but it's another level. This was for the original Chiron concept and those 2 kind of saloon coupe long limo things.
I know the
EB118 and EB218.
They are both pretty stunning looking vehicle. I mean, striking more than stunning, maybe.
I'd say striking.
Impressive.
Yes,
impressive looking.
I think the 2-door GT Cruiser one, I think that's the 118, is that is I do actually think that looks quite good. I do quite like that. And especially the interiors. I did a whole bit. It was a running joke in the video I made on those cars. But the interior on those cars if I could sort of if I picture in my head a dream car that is a combination of all the best things, so the best engine it could possibly have, and the prettiest shape it could have, the interior that it has is the interior from the EB118, because that is, it's so good. Ugh.
Oh man, I wanted to remind myself what the original Chiron looked like, because I'd forgotten. I had a look. Very pretty looking car, but I never thought about it. But then they call it the Bugatti 18-3 because it's a W18 with 3 banks of cylinders.
Yes,
I've looked at this car before, done looks into it, but I never thought about what that would stand for.
And that's why the Veyron is the 16-4, because it's because yes, just to clarify, this is not a W18 in the same way that the Veyron's engine is a W16. The W16 is essentially 2 VR8s joined together.
Yeah.
This is clearly just 3 rows of straight 6s, basically. Just 3 straight 6s bolted together.
Madness.
But if you are still hungry for that engine layout, boy, am I happy to introduce this engine to you. So, as a final sort of peak on the mountain of absurdity, this is the Mercedes M216. This was developed around... conceived is a better word. This was conceived around the same time as the BMW Goldfish V16. Whether Mercedes knew about that at the time and developed this to compete, or just presumed
they were also on something, coincidentally, maybe.
Yes, Mercedes decided to just kick it up a gear and go, no, fuck you. We're going to go above and beyond. So we're aware of the Mercedes W140 S-Class, one of the best luxury saloons that's ever been made.
Mm-hmm.
And we're aware of its M120 V12, the all-aluminium block, dual overhead cam, 48 valve, fantastic engine.
Wonderful engine, yeah.
Yes. That has lived on in Zonda after Zonda, etc., etc.
After Zonda, after Zonda, after...
Indeed.
Yeah.
Evidently, there were a couple of engineers in Stuttgart who were sort of having the same conversation we're having now. It's like, the V140, very, very good car. Yeah, it's like, the M120 is a good V12. Es ist nicht genug! And so they approached the executives with this engine. This is, as I've read into, on a technical level, essentially 3 M103 straight 6s joined together.
Right.
That would make this a 7.8 litre W18.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's perfectly normal. I've got one of those in my A4, I think.
I made a table out of one of those once.
Can make a banquet table out of that.
Yeah, you could serve
ridiculous.
It could be multi-leveled and everything. Like, oh
exactly. Yeah. No. I mean, it almost looks like a picnic table. You got the seats with each of the banks.
Oh man. What a complete... I mean, the question I always have when it comes to engines like this is, did they actually really think that this was going to go into production? Like, genuinely? Come on, guys. Seriously?
Surely not, right? Surely this was just a design exercise for the sake of...
They took it to the executives. I
imagine they took it to the executives with a big grin on their face.
Look what we spent your money on.
Yeah. But big grins on the faces, but like, this would be so cool. Like, come on, they've got it. Yeah,
please give us a try.
So yes, they didn't make this again, similar to BMW, they didn't want to start an expensive arms race.
Yeah.
And also, the executive said, we've got a 6-liter 48 V12 already. We don't need this. Guys, this is fine. Guys.
Yeah. This is enough. This is enough. You can sit down, I promise.
Could you imagine the fuel cost?
Oh, God.
Oh,
yeah.
Imagine trying to fill up.
Yeah, a 7.8 for a 7.8 litre W18.
You touch the throttle and you're getting less than 1 mile to the gallon.
Yes, so going off the specs of the M103, this is a single overhead cam, 2-valve a-cylinder engine that would have made between 480 and 490 horsepower.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'd say that's quite conservative.
However, there is whisperings that there was going to be a performance version, because this wasn't the performance version, apparently. So, at some point in the 90s, Mercedes came out with a mid-engined supercar prototype that they was sort of like we might make this situation that had the M120 in it. And I presume that was sort of leftover idea from the performance version of this engine.
I guess
at least
so,
my thinking as what might have happened. So the performance version of this, they were going to swap out the heads for, and I learned this in between last episode, it's actually even more than I thought, dual overhead cam, 5 valves a cylinder.
Bloody hell.
That's a lot of valves.
Yes, that is. Like, imagine now having to
How
be...
many valves is that? Is that 70?
Oh, no. Being the guy who has to refurb this engine and lap 90 valves.
90
What
valves.
the hell?
Good grief. I've had a thought. Had this happened, would this have been the engine in the Mercedes McLaren SLR? Or some future derivative of it?
I imagine if they had made the performance version, it would have been a 90s interpretation of the McLaren SLR. You know, it would be something along a similar veins with a massive bonnet and...
Well, no, if they had made that, my best guess as to where it would have been the mid-engined
okay.
car I was talking about. I might flash a picture of it up on screen, depending. Because it's a neat looking little thing, actually. It's pretty cool. But no, this would have been utterly ridiculous. I mean, because if they had made this, would a derivative of this engine been the one that was in the CLK GTR?
Oh my god.
Wow.
That's sort of a bit more... Maybe because I know there were like... I've tried to look up what the restrictions for GT1 are, but I can't find them.
I imagine it probably would have been too heavy for a proper race car.
Yes, that's also true.
Possibly.
It must have weighed an absolutely ridiculous amount.
Yeah, again, so the M1... I'm pretty sure this must have been a similar situation to what was happening with the Saab V8. Because the M103 was a cast iron block aluminium head, exact same as the Saab H engine, but when they made the Saab V8, they made an aluminium block for it because a cast iron block would have been too heavy. A cast iron block for a 7.8 litre W18.
That's a lot of iron.
Yeah, no, I think
that probably would have weighed more than the entire CLK GTR final version.
Exactly. So I'm pretty sure, like, they were conceiving this as, you know, sort of based off the technical dimensions of the M103, but using a custom aluminium block.
Yeah. Jesus.
But anyway, we got none of these.
No.
Because fun is banned, as I have recently learned.
All we got was disappointment.
Yeah. Anyway.
And on that positive note, should we move on to my slide?
Yes, I think we shall.
So my kind of general the rabbit hole that I fell down started off with the Mazda MX-30, the single rotor range extender that it has, because it got me thinking about engines in doing unusual things that you wouldn't expect them to do. Because obviously that has a single rotary engine, but it doesn't power the wheels or anything. It just runs to charge up the batteries so that you can drive further. And that got me thinking a bit on researching engines, where you wouldn't expect them to be. And the first one that I found was this one in the top middle, which is a VR6 forklift. It's the 3.6 variant as well, which is like pretty much as big as they came.
Yeah, the 3 point. I guess because torque.
Yeah, I guess, but it was powered by LPG and only made 90 horsepower, which, I mean, I guess it must have fulfilled its
much
purpose.
Less exciting.
Yeah, it's a bit less exciting. I do wonder if you took one out of there, could you put it into a car and make it run like it? I mean, maybe if you swapped out the ECU or something, possibly? I don't know. I'm not a forklift expert, but they do sound really good. It sounds like a
yeah, it just sounds like
an R32 Golf.
Yeah, your local sort of yobbo boy racer.
Oh, I do love a VR6 sound.
Yeah, I've just imagined it.
Forklift certified.
Yes.
Indeed. I've just imagined a forklift sort of slammed and stanced in the way that people do R32 Golfs.
Oh God.
It's got a Nürburgring sticker on it as well.
Yeah,
of course.
never been to the Nürburgring. Then top right, this is more of an obvious one. You can see it says on it, but this is the Chrysler Air Raid siren. So it was a 331 Hemi. So not a small V8. The Hemis were the performance ones, and they used it to power this air raid siren that was put on top of buildings and stuff. Excruciatingly loud, I've heard. I mean, there's a video of it, but obviously it doesn't capture the
it wouldn't capture
the true
effects,
decibels,
the effects that it has on your body.
But I guess when it starts off, the engine itself is probably quite loud, and then it gets overtaken by the sound of the siren itself. But can you imagine you're just like walking, you're just in your office or something, you hear a V8 start up. Oh, that's peculiar. I wonder where that's coming from. And then it just suddenly starts wailing. And then the bombs drop.
Oh, yeah. It's just a sort of order of increasingly deafening. First, a big unsilenced V8 starts, and you're like, oh, God,
lovely.
that's that. Then the siren starts. How
could this day get any worse? Gets reduced
Duck
to
and cover.
atoms. Now, obviously, the fun of playing the guessing game with this is a bit less fun with these later ones, but I will give people in the audience a few seconds to guess what the middle left one is. And yes, you're looking at that correctly. That is two V8s, two Buick V8s, Wildcat 401s. And,
pause and guess on your phones now.
Yes, for engagement purposes.
Some elevator music playing.
Comment what you think it's for.
Well, I will give you the answer now. These are the starters of the SR71 Blackbird originally. Now, I did actually read that after a while, they changed from these engines to LS V8s. So they were always V8 powered, I believe. This is from what I heard. But yeah, they started off with Buick Wildcats and then went over to LSs. But the thing that I found most fascinating was the phrase that was used by, and just the coolest thing ever, like, I cannot imagine being able to go on the radio and say something cooler. When the pilot of the SR71 wanted them to start the start motors, he would go onto the radio and go, "Engage Buicks," which is just the cool. I mean, that would send shivers down your spine, being able to say that, wouldn't it?
That is a level. Look, men only want one thing, and it's fucking disgusting.
and then you just hear like the faint rumbling of two V8s. And then the SR71 Blackbird starts. Oh, man.
Oh, no. I mean, I think it's fitting that it only makes sense for possibly one of the coolest planes ever made.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
To be like the accessories that orbit it to be equally cool.
Yes, of course.
Is there anything more American than a hangar with an SR-71 Blackbird and 2 Buick V8s starting it up?
Anything more American than a big black plane that flies super fucking fast, is designed to spy on the Soviet Union, and is started by 4 Buick V8s, because there were 2 of these trailers with 2 Buick engines in them.
I just find it hilarious that, like, there were multiple things they could have used to make the starter, but what's the easiest way for an American to come up with an idea for this? Just put a V8. Put many V8s.
No replacement for displacement.
Exactly. It's just perfect.
I don't know why. It's just such a ridiculous in a cool way. Just like, you know, it's super stealthy, so we'll like have just this big, massive black plane that's all, you know, like it looks like something right out of a video game or a James Bond set.
Yeah,
you know, it's like this because it is almost a semi-spaceship because of how high it flies.
It looks incredible. And it's started by V8s.
And it's started by Buick V8s and...
Oh, man.
Everything about it is very cool.
Yes. It's... I would say that's possibly the coolest, but in a close second is the middle one, which, again, if you have any guesses, please do think of them in your head and then write them down. As I will give you the clue that this is a fuel pump. This engine that you're looking at acts solely as a fuel pump, and
which is just absurd.
Yes, that much fuel.
When your fuel pump has a fuel pump, you're doing something ridiculous.
Yo, dog, we heard you like fuel pumps.
And when your fuel pump has a supercharger as well, because this is the Bloodhound land speed record car. Or I vaguely could be called a car, and this is the supercharged Jaguar V8 that acts as the fuel pump for it. Completely mental. It baffles the mind that something could possibly use that much fuel, that it needs a V8 running to pump the fuel quick enough. I mean, yeah, I guess that shows those are basically just jet engines with some wheels on them. But. Yeah, I struggle to wrap my head around this thing. It is incredible. Now, in the bottom right, as you can see, it's a bit more like a normal vehicle. And you look at that and you think, oh, it's a snowblower. So you think, oh, that's, probably just has maybe a little motor to run the bit at the back. No. So this lorry has some sort of diesel inline 6 to run the engine. And then to run the snowblower is a 14-litre Scania V8. So the engine that runs that is bigger than the engine that moves the truck itself.
Gotta love that.
That moves a lot of snow, I bet.
I bet it does, yeah. And the way it's... Yeah.
My favourite thing I noticed about this when we were doing we were trying to record last time...
Yes.
...is the Two-Face cab
the cab situation
going on. I presume because the snowblower is mounted on the back.
Yes.
I presume because you drive to wherever you're blowing snow, then you get out of the cab, go in the one that's facing backwards, and then drive in reverse to blow the snow.
Or it's a team of 2, one person facing either way, one person controlling the snowblower, one person
it could be that,
the truck.
although you'd have to pay 2 people for the wages. So
that
doesn't seem like something a company would be willing to do.
True.
But yeah, that thing looks absolutely incredible. And I'm just trying to imagine the sound of 2 different big diesel engines running while it's just blowing mountains of snow. I mean, surely you could clear like an entire mountain with that thing, surely.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at that, and I'm also thinking that how has Mad Max, or like how have we not seen a single appearance of a snowblower like this in the Mad Max series?
Yeah, true. Although I don't know, do they have snowblowers in Australia?
They have mountains.
I guess they do. Yeah, that is true.
You wouldn't have to worry about hitting wildlife either, because I imagine it's a mile away and the wildlife is already being shaken to its core and running as far away as is physically possible.
It would put so much fear into the hearts of your enemies.
Yeah, quite.
And finally, the somewhat the least impressive engine, but I find this quite fascinating. The snowmobile in the bottom left. This is an Arctic Cat T660, and that in the name might give you a bit of a hint as to the engine dimensions, because this was the first 4-stroke snowmobile. It's powered by a turbocharged 660cc Suzuki 4-cylinder from the not 4-cylinder, but 3-cylinder, I believe, from the Cappuccino, which has, obviously K cars are limited to 66 horsepower. This is not limited, so it has 110 from a tiny little engine on a snowmobile.
So horrendously dangerous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This was designed to someone in Arctic Cat or Suzuki has like family members or close friends who were killed by lumberjacks, and they have dedicated their entire career to exacting revenge upon them.
Yeah, it must be, because I just imagine the turbo lag of that hitting you on a snowmobile. And I'm also trying to imagine the sound, because those engines rev to like 9,000 and something RPM. They sound great.
The one thing with snowmobiles is I'm pretty sure they have some kind of viscous connection, or some kind of continuously variable thing that sort of allows them to stay. So maybe the turbo lag wouldn't have been quite so much of a problem. But
I was going to ask about gearing.
Yeah,
it's a CVT?
I think they're CVTs or something similar.
Or some kind of viscous connection that allows for...
I was thinking something like that, which would probably deafen you after a little bit. But yeah, this was the first one that I guess proved that you could make a 4-stroke snowmobile as effective as a 2-stroke one. And apparently excruciatingly dangerous, as you said. I mean, more dangerous than the average snowmobile, which is already very dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that is some engines in unlikely places. Something like that. Engines doing things that you wouldn't expect them to be doing.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. And now for our first show and... Well, first as you are seeing it.
First ever. This is the first ever time I have told this story. It's the first ever time I've spoken to... Oh, no, it's not the beginning of the podcast again, is it?
No.
This is a terrible slide.
It's perfectly fine. What are you talking about? But yes. First show and tell segment from a guest. Please take it away.
Thank you very much. So, I'm assuming that both of you know, in fact, I know for a fact both of you know, the Tommy Kyra ZZ.
No, I've never heard of this thing before. No.
So enlighten us.
What I'd like to do is I'd like to ask you a question that I'm absolutely certain that you have no idea the answer to, which is, where do you think the Tommy Kyra ZZ was produced?
Ooh. What?
Ooh, I'm having to really rack my car knowledge here.
Surely it must be Japan, right?
It's being a Japanese company and all.
So it's a Japanese company, and they built their business in the 80s and the early 90s, taking JDM sports cars and modifying them to make them faster and the like. They built a really strong reputation for not just making the cars that they modified faster, but making them better in pretty much every way. They handled better, they were more comfortable, they were more usable. Of course, they were also much faster. And so in the mid-90s, they decided to start work building their own car, which was the Tommy Kyra ZZ. Now, it was not built in Japan.
Oh.
Which is strange, because they were mostly sold in Japan, but it was actually built in Norfolk.
What a bizarre choice. I mean, I
It
guess
is a strange choice.
out of all the places in the UK to get somebody to build a very small, lightweight sports car, that is probably the one. But
Yes, but here's the thing. As we learned when we tried to record this last time, it was made in Norfolk, but not by Lotus. This is
So Lotus, based in Norfolk. When I read originally that it was being built in Norfolk, I assumed, as I'm sure you did, that it was effectively being made under license by Lotus.
Yeah.
Because Lotus have got a team of engineers and a place to build cars very much
Exactly.
like this. They look like this. They're about this size. They're about as powerful. It's a hub of expertise on the subject. But no, Tommy Kyra had their own facility. I imagine probably what they took from Lotus was they probably poached some staff, I'd guess.
gone down to the pub. Who here has a bone to pick with Lotus? Do you want to make something better, except you'll never see one because it'll be sold in Japan?
Who here wants to make a Lotus that you can't buy?
Exactly. Or would you
Brilliant.
want to buy it?
So they built them in Norfolk, and they sold the vast majority of them back into Japan. They built just over 200 ZZs starting in 1996. And I believe they built, I think it was 218 or 220. And at least 200 of them were sold back into Japan. So the vast majority of them.
Yeah.
But in...
fuck's sake.
I'm sure the economics of that were absolutely absurd. But in 1999, there was a change in crash safety regulations in Japan. Effectively, I don't know if it was for all cars or if it was just applied to cars in this particular class. It was a bit foggy. But the crash safety regs that applied to this car changed. They moved effectively from the European crash safety standards to what were effectively North American crash safety standards. And it meant that the Tommy Kyra ZZ could not be sold as a new car in Japan anymore. And
When you first worded it like that last time, I briefly assumed that you were going to introduce us to a miraculous scheme where they sold them to a shell company in the UK and then sold them into Japan technically as second-hand cars.
Yeah,
it's
something
more
like
a
that.
miraculous scheme where they lost all of their money, which is slightly less miraculous.
His accountants hate him.
see how he got past the new crash safety regulations with this one awesome trick.
How to avoid paying any corporate income tax.
Don't have income.
Lose all of your money. Yeah.
You should kill yourself now!
So unfortunately, there was no good way around it for Tommy Kyra, and because the facility they were making these cars in was so far away, they decided to cut their losses, and they sold the facility to a local UK-based company called Breckland Technologies, who basically continued to build the ZZ under the name, what was it called? Leading Edge.
Yes, the Leading Edge 190 and 240, was it?
Yes, it was. So there was all of these cars used 2-litre Nissan engines, and the ZZ had only been available with 190 brake horsepower, and that version went on to become the Leading Edge 190, but they also made some modifications to the engine. It was the same engine. I don't know exactly what they did to it, but they tuned it up, and they had a 240 version as well, which, surprise, surprise, made 240 brake horsepower.
Imaginative.
I know! Crazy, right?
What's on next?
But yes, that version of the company failed, as at least I'm certain, because Leading Edge is a fucking terrible name.
It really is.
It is not a very good name. They went for a little while. I've got no idea how many they made, but Tommy Kyra relinquished, maybe not so voluntarily, relinquished ownership of the facility in '99. And Breckland Technologies, under the brand name Leading Edge, not a great name, continued making these cars until 2005. Apparently. I don't actually know what continue to make in this context really means, I don't know if it was, one a week or one in the whole 6 years. But they were ostensibly available to buy. Mostly not being sold into Japan, I don't think. I think they were more being sold into Europe. But after Tommy Kyra lost control, it became quite difficult to track what was happening.
Yes, just sort of another sort of footnote in the great and long tradition of British shed industry cars.
Yeah, and Breckland Technologies disappeared in a big, probably a very small cloud of smoke after the 2008 financial crisis. Never to be heard from or seen again. But worry not, the story does not end there. Back to Tommy Kyra, and after they lost their factory in 1999, they weren't in a fantastic position. They put a lot of money into developing this small sports car that they were making overseas only to bring back again for some weird reason. Would you believe it? They didn't have a huge amount of money.
I'm shocked.
Usually you make lots of money by doing failed business ventures.
And massive production lines.
Yeah.
A car like a Lancia was such a profitable endeavour.
It's a famously profitable industry, small volume sports car manufacturing. Anyway, they decided that they were not going to throw in the towel and that they were going to start work on a car that would be legal to sell in Japan. It would be called the Tommy Kyra ZZ2.
Wow.
And it was not going to be a straight replacement for the ZZ. It really was going to be something completely different. It was supposedly going to be based on an entirely new chassis. It was going to use Nissan's RB26 legendary engine that was used in the Skyline GTRs. And it also inherited the R32 Skylines that was used in the R33 as well, I believe. A Tezza ETS all-wheel drive system, the adaptive all-wheel drive system that biased power to the rear end, but sent power to the front end to get you out of trouble.
You know what this is starting to remind me of? The Panther Solo. That absolute balmy thing.
Bit, yeah. The one
where
that
they
had
just... Yeah,
that had the Sierra Cosworth engine in it.
Yeah, just like the kind of same general, very light thing with all-wheel drive and lots of power.
Except, whereas the Solo 2 had 200 horsepower, this had what?
This had 540.
Yeah.
Jesus wept. Okay, right.
And it only weighed 1,000 kilograms.
Okay, that I'm a bit suspicious of.
Apparently, yeah. I mean, a car with that engine and that all-wheel drive system,
exactly,
only weighing 1,000 kilos.
Was everything else made out of feathers and string?
I mean, considering that it was just it was a prototype, maybe it was.
It didn't really matter because come 2001, they show it off at, I believe it was the Tokyo Motor Show, and promptly and violently go bankrupt.
I'm shocked.
In a surprise to absolutely nobody, I imagine. However, the ZZ2 had caught the attention of somebody with the ability to spend a lot of money at a tuning parts manufacturer called Autoback 7.
Sounds like the name of a computer from the 90s.
Yeah. So Autoback 7, I can't find out whether or not they bought the whole company or if they just bought the rights to the name and all of the company's IP. I imagine they might have done the latter so that they didn't take on the presumably substantial amounts of debt associated with the original company. Anyway, however it worked, Tommy Kyra was folded into Autoback 7's new sports car manufacturing company, ASL, which, like Tommy Kyra, is a brand that you may recognise from Gran Turismo. So, what they did after acquiring the rights to Tommy Kyra and the ZZ2 is they promptly completely abandoned all of it. And instead revived the original ZZ to form the underpinnings of their totally brand new, completely original 2003 ASL Garaya.
Catchy names they're coming up with for these.
I think
I
Goriah
do-
could have been an interesting sports car name. I think.
Yeah, it could have been, and I always appreciate some ZZ Top references. So I not usually the band I would associate with a lightweight sports car, but I'll take it.
No.
So they created the Goriah from the bones of the ZZ. They took it to a motor show, and they promptly made 0 of them. They didn't make a single one.
Fantastic.
Except for the fact that they used the Goriah name and potentially the chassis and some of the styling cues to build a GT300 racing car that actually did race.
Oh.
So
For
in
a
partnership
very
with
long time,
for a
didn't it?
surprisingly long time. So in partnership with Aguri Suzuki, the Goriah GT300 was fielded from 2003. And it competed a total of 74 times and it started out in the JGTC
Jesus.
before it became Super GT.
That's mental.
Yeah.
It competed from 2003 until 2012, when the governing body of Super GT finally decided that competitor cars actually needed to exist.
They really do hate fun, don't they?
Yeah. So, in the time it was racing, it was actually surprisingly good. It was regularly fighting for podiums, and it collected 7 class wins. And even more impressive than that, I mean, it got a lot of points. It did really, really well one year. I don't have in front of me which year it was. I think it was 2009. It got 3 or 4 class wins in a single season.
Impressive.
During its entire career in GT300, it only had 4 mechanical retirements. Which
is an astonishing reliability
For
record.
any vehicle, let alone one made by a small volume manufacturer and possibly not actually really existing.
Yeah, exactly. It was very, very impressive.
Yeah, for something barely corporeal, it was shockingly sturdy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it fought a lot. It did pretty well. During the time it was racing, it was of course racing under the Autobacks ASL name, and during this time in around 2009, when I imagine ASL were probably hoping to find some money somewhere, like everyone was.
Yeah.
They realised that they hadn't really been using the Tommy Kyra name, and they wanted to monetize it somehow, and the most effective way of doing that was simply to sell it. So,
Right.
Tommy Kyra, the name was sold to a company called Rowan, who a few years later partnered with a Japanese EV startup called GLM to build the ZZ EV.
Back from the dead.
Back from the dead. By this point, the relation to the original car was questionable. I read that and I thought, well, they're basically just trying to cash in on the name. It's a small electric sports car. It was supposed to compete with the Tesla Roadster, ostensibly. By this point, it's about 2015.
Yeah.
I assumed that the relation was in name only, until I read that the ZZ EV used the same aluminium box chassis as the original Tommy Kyra ZZ from 1996.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, the parallels between this and the original Tesla Roadster are ridiculous. Both,
Except people have heard of the Tesla Roadster.
I mean, apart from that, yes. Apart from that pretty crucial difference, both based on lightweight sports cars, both very old chassis,
Yes.
both made in Norfolk,
Yeah.
both made by foreign firms using the chassis. It's, I mean, okay, the one, I will qualify that last one as like maybe, because the chassis was made in the UK, but did they make new chassis from old stock, or did they fabricate them from scratch? Did they buy back a couple of old ZZs and convert them? Do we know what the situation was with this at all?
I honestly don't know. I'd have to assume, given the amount of time between the original ZZ and the new one, that they weren't effectively old stock, that they fabricated new chassis to the original spec, I imagine. Because the ZZ EV wasn't built in Norfolk, it was built in Japan.
Right, yeah, okay.
Oh.
Because they no longer had the original, they sold off the original facility.
And even the company
and it was effectively
that had
a completely different company.
Yeah, and even the company that then bought the facility afterwards had gone bust by this point.
Yeah, it had. It had been dead for years by this point. So the ZZ EV had about 75 miles of range, had about 300 brake horsepower, small electric sports car in 2015. It was about what you would expect. The surprising thing about it is that this car apparently kind of did actually exist.
That is very surprising.
Judging by what is available online, it was in production. Again, what production in this particular context means in reality is difficult to ascertain.
Yeah.
With any degree of certainty. But it was apparently in production from 2015 to 2021.
Wow. In some form. I mean, maybe like the Celine S7, where if you go to them with the money, they'll still make it now.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if they were built to order. I don't know if they basically made like a handful in 2015 and it took them until 2021 to actually sell them all. I've got no idea.
I don't know.
I'm guessing they probably didn't sell all that many in that time.
Probably not, no.
But the story doesn't end there. You will notice on the slide there is a second picture of the ASL. It was now called the ASL RS01. It was it wasn't just basically the Tommy Kyra ZZ2. It was the Tommy Kyra ZZ2 with a different badge on it. And in 2022, the still existing ASL, still existing as a subdivision of Autoback 7, which is a healthy business, decided that they were going to finally release the ZZ2, now called the RS01, in its original spec, seemingly, and in a surprise to, once again, absolutely nobody. Nobody's heard anything since.
Of course.
Unfortunate.
And that is the end of the story.
Oh.
Or is it?
Well, we're happy to announce that we have bought the rights to the Tommy Kyra ZZ, and we're going to be making one. Unfortunately, we have already gone bankrupt, so you can't buy one.
But we thought we'd continue the great tradition of buying the rights to the name and then going bankrupt.
Yeah, it's a time-honoured tradition, really. We felt it was mandatory that we continue it.
Us in the bankruptcy hearing, Your Honour, we did it for the bit.
Yeah, exactly. You can't tell us off for that. Oh, man.
So that is the story of Tommy Kyra, to the best of my understanding and knowledge.
Fantastic.
Goes far deeper than I ever thought when I was playing Gran Turismo as a kid.
Yeah,
I'd agree.
That is an arc, truly.
And I'm sure it'll be back at some point.
Indeed.
It won't die this easily.
I hope so. I do hope so.
Anyway. News! Actual supposed purpose of the podcast. So, first thing in news. The new Lancia Ypsilon, since episode 2, has actually had its launch happen. It is real.
Yes. Yeah.
And as we can see in the top left, Lancia's known for their rust proofing. They were just doing a bit of a double check, I think. Was
very thorough test. I respect it, especially after what happened last time, of course.
Yeah, we're like the allegations of the beta and everything post that, we're clearing the name. And so they did this big publicity stunt where they dumped it in a river. A bit of a weird publicity stunt where they didn't announce it was going to happen and nobody was invited to it. They just sort of did it, but, I don't judge.
They didn't want to publicize the fact too much, under promise, over deliver. It's a real shame that the press caught this, really. I think we all would have been pleasantly surprised.
Exactly. So, yes, new Lancia Ypsilon. It's a Peugeot 208.
Which you can tell quite easily if you look at it from the side.
Exactly, yeah.
It is just a facelift for that, really, unfortunately.
It is exclusively available as in electric, sort of the electric version of the Peugeot 208 / Vauxhall / Opel Corsa.
Yeah.
But yeah, it exists. Lancia is back.
It's certainly
on a technical
it's
level.
It's not really back though, is it? Because until they make something that's actually interesting, this is not really a Lancia to me.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it. Why is it got basically the Lincoln logo on the front for a start?
Yeah.
It does look. I did actually, when I looked at that just now, read it as Lincoln.
Yeah. And why are the headlights there? Why are they so far off to the edge? It's bizarre.
The front is it looks utterly bizarre from the front. I think a shot. I think I have had a look at it from the rear without the hatch agape to drain of water.
Yeah.
And from the back,
it does look better from the back.
Yeah. From the side, there's not quite enough to distinguish it from a Peugeot 208. And from the front, it is utterly bizarre.
It's not even ugly. It's just
exactly.
Very
it's just
strange.
odd. Yeah.
It's. I think when we were recording it last time, I was sort of trying to compare it to the Pontiac Aztek, and the reason why the Pontiac Aztek is hideous, frankly, just as a quick aside, there are people who are Pontiac Aztek apologists, and I
hate to be this person. I think it's kind of cool. I don't think it looks good, but I do think it's cool.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say it.
Maybe.
No, I can't quite. The only cool thing about that car is that you can control the radio from the boot. That's the only cool thing about it.
No, the tent's cool.
Well, that's why there are radio controls in the boot.
Oh, of course, yeah. If you could sleep in your vehicle, I think that makes it cooler.
I mean, you can sleep in any vehicle if you're desperate enough.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If there's a will, there's a way.
I slept in a Volvo estate and I woke up the coldest I've ever been in my life. But I did get to sleep. It was, it aged me.
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
this car is not like the Pontiac Aztek.
No, because
the Pontiac Aztek took a big swing, and even though it was considered to have missed at the time, I miss car manufacturers making big swings like that, because they didn't just design a ridiculous car. They designed a ridiculous car, and they actually made quite a lot of them for some reason.
Yeah.
No, because the thing with the Aztek is that it doesn't follow any kind of styling convention, but at the same time, I kind of know what it's trying to do. I know what it's going for, and because of that, I can see it completely fails at it. And,
That's not very nice.
I can see what you're going for, and big swing, big miss. Sorry. Whereas
it just took a few years to land. I think I've come around to it. I'm going to keep saying it because I believe it's true. I think Pontiac Aztek is cool.
Power to you. I'm happy. I'm happy you like what you like. I cannot join you in that.
Unrelated question: have you had your eyes tested recently?
I am actually blind.
Me too. I'm pretty blind, but I have my eyes checked quite regularly, and I can see that.
Yeah. Why do you think he's wearing the orange glasses in the videos all the time? It's one of those color hue things.
Of course.
I actually don't have eyes. The eyes are painted onto the glass lenses.
But yes, so whereas the Aztek, it's a big swing, but I can see what it was swinging for, and so therefore, in my opinion, I can see how much it missed and how much I understand it. Is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. This, I don't know what it's going for. I don't understand what it's doing.
No,
what
it's just
what
bizarre.
was the aim here?
It's just a way of selling exactly the same hatchback to people who are too scared to be normal.
Yeah.
And want something a little bit more interesting, but that's actually just exactly the same car. And I think it's unfortunate that they've, dredged up the Lancia name to do it, because they could have done something so special, and they just really didn't.
Yeah, I think it's because they're trying to play it a little bit too safe, because they're trying to sort of fit into the same niche that the Lancia Ypsilon has survived up until this point in.
Yeah. In a single country on, God's great earth.
Within that single country, it has been very, very successful, but nonetheless, yes.
Yeah.
So they're going to... it's before 2030 hits us like a fucking truck.
God.
They are going to introduce both a small-ish SUV and a C-segment hatchback, so slightly bigger than this. The hatchback we know is going to be called the Delta, and I think they said they're going to revive the Gamma name for the SUV.
Great.
Yeah.
What truly shocking, completely uncharted territory they are delving into with those.
Yeah.
Indeed. So if they're bringing back a hatchback, it's going to be based on, I presume, if this is based on a 208, I presume the Delta will be sort of in the same family at the very least as the 308 and the Astra.
Probably.
Yeah. If there's a hot version, if there's an Integrale, then which there won't be, but if there is an Integrale, then I think I don't think all is lost, because that's the thing with this. I agree that this is not how the Lancia name should be used. This is a far fucking cry from slapping the Lancia badge on the Chrysler 300, like they tried with the Thema 2.
True. There was a little bit more trying involved.
From that point, this is an improvement. Not all is lost.
Yes.
But I hope they don't bring back the Integrale name for any first generation new Lancia, because it will just be the same car but with heated seats. That's all it will be.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, if there's sort of any semblance of an actual performance improvement, then I think that's fair enough. But if they're just doing it as an upper trim level, then no, fuck that.
Yeah.
Final thing I'll touch on before we move on, and the thing we sort of discussed. What's with the 4 squares on the front?
Oh, yeah, we spoke about this last time, and we couldn't work it out, because you can see the cruise control module.
It's not the self, the controlled cruise control thing. That's the sort of like little panel underneath the number plate. What are the 4 things? I can't remember. I think it was you. I think it was you, Fred, who joked that the car was actually very small in their USB-C charging ports.
Unless they fold away to reveal like an array of missiles or something. It's completely bizarre. That would be amazing. That would be the Integrale
full James Bond. But no, I can't quite. I think my best guess was that they were sort of adaptive cooling.
Maybe,
but it's already got a
pretty big fuck off grill on the bottom. So
I have no idea really.
Yeah, very. Bizarre. Yeah, I'm hopefully maybe someone in the if you work for Lancia, please tell us what's happening.
Also, I'm sorry for being very rude about your car.
But... Yes. Anyway, next slide. Oh yes, this. So, the London Electric Vehicle Company, which is the company what makes the black cabs.
In it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of feel like going all proper Cockney now. So they're the company what make the black cabs.
You should do the whole segment like that.
So
Everyone's going to really enjoy it.
So the company's actually owned by Geely. So this is actually going to be made in China.
China.
I can't keep it up. I'm sorry. Yeah. So yes, this is. They've announced that they're going to be making an MPV, and they're going to be making it in China, but that they are open to the idea of exporting it to other countries. Now, aside from the fact that this is the sort of LEVC name being put on a car that isn't a black cab, besides the fact it's not being made in the Coventry black cab factory, all that aside, it doesn't matter. Joe, we made a prediction.
We did. We
made a prediction that might be right.
Are back.
Oh my god! We're 3 episodes in, and
we're already predicting the
future. Oh
future.
my god, we're so fucking good at our jobs.
Wait, you're getting
This
paid?
truly is the greatest podcast on the entire web.
I mean, is this a sign that MPVs are back? It quite possibly
I hope
could
so.
be.
I think this is also a sign that you should buy the Volvo EM90 instead.
Yes.
But it is a sign that MPVs are coming back, hopefully.
But yeah, no, because I think we made the point last podcast that the MPV coming back can only be a good thing because every MPV sold is an SUV that isn't.
Exactly.
Which is a good thing. That MPVs are not MPVs, SUVs are wasteful needlessly.
Yeah.
They're just not. 99% of people who buy an SUV could have their needs fulfilled, if not exceeded, by an MPV doing the same thing.
I mean, let's be honest, most people who buy an SUV could have their needs fulfilled by a small hatchback.
That is also true.
But for people who do need to move lots of people and or things, I think an MPV hopefully will be an option again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like more companies are placing their bets on MPVs, at least for the moment. I assume because it's probably maybe easier to get range with a design like this. I don't know.
Easier to get the aerodynamics. You're not, or maybe you're able to get a bigger battery pack in because you're not wasting space on ride height.
Yeah, possibly.
I also wonder if they might be front running some kind of regulatory change to make
possibly
big, heavy SUVs slightly less compelling.
Yeah, it's an entire
that's
possibility.
also a thing. The other thing to note is that Volvo and LEVC are both owned by Geely, which is a Chinese company, and MPVs have always been more successful in Asia than they have been in the West. Yes. So that's another thing to note that, and they are going to start selling this in China before they start selling it anywhere else. Yep. Same thing with the Volvo EM90. Mm-hmm. However, the fact that they're using the Volvo name, which is a name that is known in the West, and the fact that they have openly said that they would like to sell this LEVC in places outside of China does raise hope, I think.
Yes.
But what does places outside of China mean? Does it just mean, opening it up to, the wider Asian market?
That's what we're to see, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the one thing that doesn't raise hope is that the full name of this thing is the LEVC L380. Because they named it after the Airbus A380
yes.
The famous massive double-decker
airliner
that is so successful that they've stopped making
successful.
it. Yeah.
I will say, though, I was dropping my parents off at Gatwick Airport once in the long stay car park, and I looked up and an A380 landed. The flight path goes over the car park, and it was, without exaggeration, one of the most incredible things I'd ever seen in my life. Seeing this plane,
very cool.
The size of a building, flying above me, coming into land. Oh my god! So I mean, it may be one cool point to me.
In fairness to the Airbus A380, I know this is a car podcast.
Yeah,
I did hear not that long ago that after Boeing's recent issues, some customers have requested that Airbus put the A380 back into production because they would be willing to buy more. So it might not be completely dead after all, and maybe this branding decision from LEVC will make a huge amount of sense in 10 years' time when we still don't have it in this country.
They're playing six-dimensional chess. They're just leagues and bounds ahead of us.
One last thing. Why has he got a Genesis badge?
I don't know.
That's a good point.
And a Hyundai light bar.
I mean, it's not so much a Hyundai light bar as that's just the electric vehicle light bar that they all have now because we're so fucking boring, apparently.
Better integrated than it is on the Golf.
I don't know why the LEVC logo is just a Genesis badge, but, it's fine. Oh, yes. So, recent news, TVR have been kicked out of the factory that they had, were planning to make the new, in inverted commas, Griffith.
New.
Yeah.
How many years old is it now? 6?
6 or 7, isn't it?
Yeah,
2018 it was unveiled.
It's really funny when I was looking for pictures of this thing to put in the slides because I kept coming across old news articles about it saying stuff like TVR Griffith delayed for production in 2022.
Oh, I feel bad. It's a good-looking thing, but I would not. If I put a deposit down on one, I would not be counting on getting the vehicle that I paid for at any point ever.
No.
I said this last time. Every time this happens to TVR, which is quite a lot, my already quite small violin gets smaller and smaller. And since the last time we recorded this, it's gotten even smaller again because I've thought about it, and it's just, what does anybody expect? Yeah. I feel like any company on Earth could buy TVR and try to make a car, and Apple could do it, and they'd end up bankrupt somehow. It's just it seems to be
it's a
way of the world.
We need to find when and where the witch's curse was put on TVR.
Well, probably Blackpool.
Well, yeah.
Can I also just say in this picture, I didn't notice last time, it looks like there's nobody in the car.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is a good point. I think, the sort of the reflection off the window is sort of obscuring. Although that has raised in my mind, and I am entertaining the idea that the car isn't actually moving and they photoshopped it to put blur on the wheels. Which would be an extremely TVR move.
It would.
But the weird thing is that right after the news about this came out, I don't know why, but there was a sudden surge of TVR Cerberus content.
Yeah.
Because Number 27 did a video on the Cerberus. Jay Leno did a video on the Cerberus.
Yep.
Which I don't know, I think that's somewhat fitting because I think the Cerberus is, at least in my opinion, I think probably the best car TVR ever made.
Ooh, yeah, maybe, yeah. I'm a big fan of the Tuscan and Cigaris, but
yes, they're both very good as well. But
the most
I'm
TVR
less of a fan of the
Cigaris.
Yeah,
I know it's probably a bit of the. It's the one I remember watching on Top Gear being new when I was a kid, but the Cigaris to me is just the perfect amount of crazy.
I'd say the Cerberus is crazy enough for me, to be honest. Have you seen the interiors of those Cerberus?
Oh god, yeah, they're incredible.
It's
fantastic. Okay, so we can't make it luxury by putting in technology. We can't make it luxury by making it quiet. What can we do? We'll cover every single surface in leather.
And there's not a straight edge in there at all. It's all wavy and strange.
Yeah, no, they're amazing. No, the interior of those Cerberus are fantastic. And the fact that the door handle is a button on the underneath of the wing mirror. No,
I seem to remember. Maybe this is somebody in the comments can let me know where this is from, because I have a memory of some show it might have been some Top Gear DVD or something, doing a challenge where they got people, I can't remember if it's celebrities or just random people.
Yeah, no, that was the Cerberus. Yeah, where they
had to try and work out how to get into it. I seem to remember that being a challenge of some sort.
Work out how to get into it and then how to get out of it.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love TVR. It's a shame that they are dead, and we are continually beating this dead horse, trying to make it come back to life.
And so many people are pretending that it's alive. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not.
I would love for this new Griffith to exist.
Yes.
I would love it. It's fantastic. It's a wonderful looking car. I'm sure it would sound fantastic. I'm sure it would probably kill 50% of its new owners. But it would just when are we going to accept that it's not going to happen?
Yeah, it's time to give up. Sorry, TVR. You've been kicked out of Wales. It's over.
Sorry.
And on that positive note.
Indeed. So, this is... I what? Like...
Yes.
So, Tesla has called for higher tariffs on Chinese EVs lest they demolish rivals. Which
Right.
Tesla in inverted commas, meaning the man of a different name.
Yes, I mean, I feel like if I say his name 3 times, then I'll just sort of I'll summon hordes of people in the comments. But yeah, so I don't like what.
It just shows no confidence in your own vehicles.
Exactly. How is that? How is this meant to rally public support? I don't understand that. Like,
yeah,
because
protectionist trade policy is a staple of the United States, particularly auto manufacturing.
Exactly. Yeah. No. I mean, because this is literally to a T what Harley Davidson tried to do.
Yeah.
Because Harley Davidson did it back in the day when, Japanese bikes are coming in and destroying destroying rivals.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was
having a hissy fit.
Back then. The reason why Japanese bikes were demolishing their rivals was because their rivals were Triumph, Royal Enfield, Harley Davidson, and Indian.
Yeah.
Who were all being demolished because they sucked.
You've nobody to blame but yourselves.
The worst and most egregious part about this story from Mr. Musk saying that, American...
Oh, God, you said the word.
EV... I know, I'm so sorry. You can bleep it out in the edit. Is that there's... I remember mentioning this last time, but there's a New York Times article from 2021, so not even that long ago, that talks in no uncertain terms about the fact that the Chinese EV makers are only where they are today because of Tesla's help. Yeah. Because Tesla was so keen to get into the Chinese market.
Yeah.
They made... my understanding is they made some concessions when it came to technology sharing that allowed domestic automakers in China to take advantage of some of Tesla's proprietary technology.
Yeah.
And so this is a problem that Elon Musk has created for himself.
Yeah.
No, it's truly the leopards eating faces party strikes once again.
And the thing I find quite, I guess, almost funny is that, like, people will always pay more for a vehicle that they like. I mean, if people only bought vehicles on their price, then every BMW and Mercedes and Audi would all be out of business. But what you're saying is that our vehicles aren't good enough. If you make
a good car, exactly, that's the point I'm trying to get here. If you make a good car, it doesn't even really matter how much it costs because, I mean, to a certain extent.
To a point, yeah.
Because people
this is exactly why Tesla's scared.
Yes, because
they don't.
Well, I think it's... Yeah, I'll be honest, personally, I think it's also because Tesla has somehow, in trying to make themselves like the iPhone of electric cars, they made themselves so painfully generic that they don't have selling feature. I mean, the interior of a Tesla, any Chinese car manufacturer can have an empty interior with a big screen. The styling is nondescript. There is
probably made better as well.
Yeah, there's nothing about Teslas that are particularly, that I personally think are particularly going to make people want to be loyal to them in the future when things are better. Because it's not like they have wonderfully crafted interiors with nice gauge clusters and all that, because they're all just so boring.
The design language is so stale. I mean, when was the last time there was a significant update to Tesla's design language? Ignoring the Cybertruck, of course, because I don't think that's a design language that's going to continue.
I did actually see my first facelifted Model 3 today, and I saw it and went, wow, that looks slightly newer. Great.
But it still looks a few years... It still looks a few years old.
It does look a few years out of date, yeah. I mean,
which is a terrible place to be.
That's the thing with the Model 3. The Model 3 looks old. I don't know how they've managed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
If I was in the market for an electric car, the only reason that I would be buying a Tesla is because on the used market, they are by far the
so
cheapest.
Cheap, yeah.
They are so cheap. But even then, I think I'd struggle justifying to myself buying a Tesla instead of a Polestar 2.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to have to be associated with owning a Tesla, because you'd have to say, oh, what do you drive now? I drive a Tesla, but I don't like it's killing the brand in some places, because you have to they're now once people who have Teslas now, who are a bit embarrassed about having a Tesla, when they come to get a new car in a few years, they're going to be looking for anything else, basically.
Yeah, like there's a reason the "Don't worry, I hate him too" stickers exist.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Like, the fact that sticker even exists, let alone that they're actually fairly popular, is
if he had
so
just shut
telling.
up and not tried to make himself into, like, Tony Stark, then they would still be selling pretty well. But he's been so obsessed with making Tesla as a brand so intertwined with him that if you don't like him, you don't like Tesla. And sorry to break it to you, a lot of people don't like him, because he is a bit of a wanker. So,
I think it was better when he was like Tony Stark, because people kind of, they could forego the higher quality, because I think, unfortunately, the part of what made Tesla so successful was the fact that it was wrapped up with this Elon Musk character. Unfortunately, it turns out the character is enormously racist.
Yes.
It's a pretty big problem. I mean, do we have to, like, I'm sorry if you don't like us pointing out racism, sexism, transphobia, any of that stuff. If you don't like that, watch a different podcast. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But like, he's so insecure. He so desperately wants to be thought of as funny and intelligent.
Yeah.
And the sad fact is he is neither. But yes, anyway. Just sort of to briefly touch on, before we move on to the next slide, how painfully generic Teslas look. Yes, it is a problem. But when they try and do something unique, it goes even worse.
Yeah.
So,
God.
Just as a quick update, compared to last episode of the podcast, people have now started taking delivery of their Cybertrucks. And the problem is worse than we thought.
Yeah. The quality control seems absolutely abysmal.
Yes, so one of the things that has been brought to light is that the stainless steel doesn't like to be a flat panel. It will sort of warp and curve and do that sort of like on old American style passenger coaches on trains.
Yeah, exactly.
You can see they start to warp and bend. But they're still relatively nice and shiny if they're clean. Now, with Elon Musk being so obsessed with, not having, the infamous 10 micron email.
Oh, God. Yeah, we laughed about that plenty in the past.
Indeed. He's evidently far more concerned with the panel gaps and the angles and all that. So fair enough.
Yeah.
So, to combat the warping problem, they had to slightly adjust the alloy that they make the panels out of.
There is a word for it. Steel.
Yes.
It's just steel.
Because that's the problem. It's no longer stainless steel. It's steel. So...
And would you believe there is a new problem that comes along with getting rid of the stainless elements?
Yes, so without any kind of coating and treatment, which is sort of the big selling point of the Cybertruck, that it's this just sort of clean steel, because it's no longer entirely stainless, it tarnishes.
Wow. Would you want to take this thing off-road and get it all mucky? No.
Of all the problems with the Cybertruck, I saw a picture on Twitter. I wish I didn't use it. Unfortunately, I'm compelled to tap on it every time I open my phone.
Shut the fuck up!
God.
No,
there's going to be angry comments about that.
The one time I will not respect someone's transition.
Well, if he doesn't, then why should we?
Exactly.
So I opened Twitter, and it's an AI generated image of basically a field of like rusted, decrepit looking Cybertrucks. And I think I quote retweeted it with, "This is the first time the Cybertrucks look cool." Yeah. And I stand by it. I don't actually. Yeah. I think a used, dirty, kind of rusted, kind of tarnished Cybertruck looks significantly cooler because it hides the absolute hideousness.
It looks like something found in a pyramid.
Yeah,
it looks like some kind of relic.
If it's slightly beat up, dirty, a bit rusty,
that's cool.
That to me invokes the punk part of cyberpunk. You know.
He wouldn't know punk if it stepped on him.
Exactly. But guy, don't you know conservative is the new punk? Shut up.
But yeah, it's just like that would be cool. But everyone who buys a Cybertruck is going to hate that because that will draw the wrong kind of attention in Silicon Valley.
Because I think most people who buy Cybertrucks, and I don't want to speak, I'm sure there are pleasant, nice, normal people who've taken delivery of these cars.
Of course.
The vast majority of them will bend over backwards to avoid criticizing Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And so Elon Musk can kind of create a car that is going to tarnish extremely easily, isn't that capable off-road. The suspension components are going to snap if you try to do anything with it. The front trunk will
chews up its own tyres with the ridiculous wheel covers.
Yeah, and needs special tyres that will go out of production in approximately 3 years.
Front trunk will literally cut off children's or adults' fingers if you close it and your hand's in the wrong place. You know, he can do that because he's selling to people who already have decided that it's all fine.
Indeed. There is, because I guess to have a vehicle like that, you have to commit to defending it. Otherwise, you're just going to... Well, you're just going to feel like you've wasted your money.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's such that is an audience that exists and is quite a big audience, but it's not big enough. You know, you're not going to. It's weird. You're not going to convince regular normal people that these issues can be looked past, but to those groups of people who are devotees of Musk. Mm-hmm. Who do think everything he touches turns to gold, then, I mean, this could have been anything.
Yeah.
You know, it maybe it helps for the hype beast factor that it is what it is.
I guess.
But this could have been anything, and those people would have bought it.
Yeah.
I think the real tragedy with the Cybertruck is when it was first announced, however many years ago that was, and we saw the original renders of it. Like with the Pontiac Aztek, I looked at it and I thought, that's cool. That is a manufacturer who's in a position of enormous privilege at the time. They had a big first mover advantage, and they were daring enough to do something that was truly insane.
Yes,
and
I found that
they were
quite
promising
cool at the
that
time.
it was going to be built. And I've never
laughed.
been a fan of Elon I've never been a fan of Elon Musk. I was less not of a fan of him when it was originally announced. But I thought, well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And the years went by, and it never came, and it finally did, and it doesn't look that much like the original pictures dimensionally. No. It is significantly more hideous now.
Yeah.
And it's just so compromised that any cool factor that it may have kept from the original bold design is just so overwhelmingly
it doesn't. I think it's the
outweighed.
aura. It's the aura around it and the way it's been marketed that has made it more ugly. It's like there's a lens. Many lenses have been placed around it, and they've only made it look sort of more bloated and fat and ugly.
Yeah.
And
like for example, the it can tow a Porsche 911 faster than a Porsche 911. That whole marketing thing, and they had the video. Okay, you can watch the video, and firstly, you can tell that's the 1/8 of a mile.
Yeah.
Not even the 1/4 mile. They're racing it against the slowest accelerating Porsche 911, because it's the one 911 that's still available with a clutch, like manually operated clutch manual.
Yeah.
And you can tell that even by the end of the 8th mile, the Cybertruck has stopped pulling away, and if it went on for much longer, then the Porsche would catch up and go past it.
Yeah.
It's like the marketing around it is not only very contrived in that way, it's also just like, why is the fact that it can tow a Porsche faster than a Porsche can go? Why is that important? Why is that such a unique selling point? It's
a misunderstanding
because it's
something people want when they buy a car, and it's not just Tesla who are guilty of this. It must be pointed out.
Yes. Yeah.
It's an advantage of electric cars that manufacturers have latched onto, because in lots of other ways, they are a compromise for most people when compared to an internal combustion car or a hybrid car.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go out of their way to highlight something that it's true. An internal combustion car cannot compete with the immediate torque and acceleration of an electric car, but everybody already knows that.
That's not exactly news. Yeah.
It's not news, and it's also, this is supposed to be a utilitarian pickup truck, right? There is no circumstance in which you would want to accelerate like that while towing something or with anything in the back of
you need that acceleration to escape from the apocalypse.
Oh, of course.
Because this is the apocalypse survival vehicle. It's why it's bulletproof, don't you know? That's why it's so fast, so that you can run over all the zombies that you fantasize about doing. Because that's the thing.
Run over all the wokes.
Yeah, of course. Yes. But no, that's because that's the other thing with, these Musk, I think especially, he's part of this. He's the most obvious part of it, but I think he's part of a growing billionaire class who are obsessed with them and only themselves surviving the apocalypse.
Yes.
They're obsessed with the idea of an apocalypse happening and them preparing for it and being the ones who survive it.
It trickles down to not billionaires as well, because it's well known that this is a slight tangent. This is billionaires have been building safe places and big compounds underground in New Zealand or whatever. I know Mark Zuckerberg it was exposed that he'd spent an obscene amount of money building some bunker in New Zealand last year or whatever it was. Right?
Yep.
It's a bizarre thing, but it's the kind of attitude there is. If things are going to go south, I am happy to survive at the expense of somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And I'm bringing it back to cars now, because that is the whole ideology that has proliferated the massive rise in sales of SUVs.
Of course.
Is that kind of, if we're going to have an accident, I want you to die.
Yeah.
Not, I want neither of us to die. It's, I want to be so certain that I'm not going to die that I'm willing to kill you instead.
I don't care about you.
Some bizarre idea that your chances of survival are increased by the decrease in chance of survival of someone else.
Yep.
That's
and
it's not a zero-sum game. That's not how that works.
The
Cybertruck, the Cybertruck
is
that.
more than anything else.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That is ridiculous.
I think that one of the things like maybe coming back to the apocalypse thing a little bit, the kinds of people who obsess about the idea of an apocalypse happening and how they'd survive and how they'd be so cool doing it. It's the same kind of people who want someone to break into their house so that they can castle doctrine them.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
I mean, maybe we're going to look like bozos and there's a nuclear apocalypse tomorrow. But
yes.
I'd rather take the chance and not be a prick for my entire life up to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, there's such sort of like the aura of what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a masculinity that craves to be oppressed because it's the only way it can justify itself. Sort of, existing is the aura that surrounds the Cybertruck, and it's why I think
this section's even longer than last time.
Never. Yeah, no. It doesn't end.
In conclusion, no. Let's not.
Don't listen to the entirety of the rest of the conversation we just had. No.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that it's not coming to Europe.
God, yeah.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that more than any other, like, big American electric thing, there is no way, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that could ever be legalized in any way, even as a private import. There is no way.
No.
I reckon you might be able to import it under, like, some kind of show and display.
20-year rule when it becomes a 40-year rule because of the UK. I think, like, this would come under the 40-year rule, I think. But,
me, age 60, go for a nice walk in the park when I get run over by a 40-year-old Cybertruck. Splat. But at least
I'll give it one thing. If I was going to be killed by a car hitting me, I would want it to be the Cybertruck because of all the cars that could do it, it would
be very quick.
It'd far be the quickest.
Yeah. No suffering, just instantly chopped in half. For those who are watching who didn't see it, Aging Wheels recently put out a video where he was invited by a new startup called Aptera to look at their prototype. And the reason why I'm putting this after the Cybertruck is because this is what I think electric cars should be doing.
Yeah.
And it's not that the Cybertruck is some uniquely bad... I mean, it is kind of a uniquely bad example of an electric car, but the problems it has, many of which are not unique to it. As was previously brought up, the sort of focus on having lots of power, can do 0 to 60 really quickly, and can slam you into the back of your seat. That is not something that is unique to the Cybertruck. That is Porsche Taycan, Audi e-tron. It is, any number of electric cars in that world.
Mm-hmm.
If the whole reason that we're trying to encourage a shift towards electric cars is to reduce our energy consumption and reduce our fossil fuel usage to combat climate change. And I sort of reiterate that. It's not just about using electric energy instead of fossil fuels.
It's about using less energy in general. In general,
yes. Because while a Taycan and an e-tron, for example, you will have the added benefit of, if everyone was driving those, having better air quality in cities.
Yes.
They've still got to be, charged with electricity, and if that electricity isn't coming from a renewable source, then what are we even doing?
Yeah, exactly. Not really much point.
Exactly.
Making it and charging it and everything if you're going to be using a horrific amount of electricity just to go quickly.
So part of solving the problem is not only shifting to more renewable sources of energy production, but using less energy to go the same distance, to drive to the same place. And that's where this new startup is coming from. So as you can see, the car is absurdly aerodynamically designed. The most ridiculous teardrop I've ever seen on a car.
It's got an absurdly low drag coefficient. I think I watched the video. I think the quoted coefficient of drag was 0.13, which is it's
ridiculous.
It's like 60% less than an EQS. It's insane.
Yeah, and it didn't have to. It somehow still manages to look better than the EQS while doing it.
That's not hard.
Yeah.
No, it does. It looks incredible.
That's why it's got 3 wheels for better, for less friction in contact with the ground.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why it has solar panels. Because the reason why electric cars don't have solar panels is because, it's the difference it makes is basically negligible. You could be parked in the sun for half the day and go a mile.
Yeah.
Get an extra mile. Because the Aptera is just sort of nailing efficiency so hard, when you're that efficient, the same amount of charge will let you go further. So rather than being half a mile, the solar panels on the Aptera might get you 3, 5, maybe more miles.
Exactly, yeah.
And when at that point, it starts to become worth it. Yeah, exactly. So
it unlocks a whole slew of other benefits as well, because it means you can have smaller batteries to go the same amount of distance, or the same size batteries to go a hell of a lot further. Range anxiety. I mean, it shouldn't. With modern electric cars, they can go kind of 280 to 350 miles on a single charge. I think most people are kind of not so upset about that anymore. But a car like this with the same battery could in theory go 600 or 700 miles with the same amount of power.
Yeah, and it uses in-wheel motors, which not only allows for the more aerodynamic shape, but also because that rotational energy is being translated more directly into the rotational energy of the wheels. That's more efficient in that regard as well, at least I think. Maybe don't quote me on that, but that's my best guess. It also allows for this thing to have a truly stupendous amount of torque.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It's like 1,500 Newton meters or something.
No, it's more. I think it's 4,500 Newton meters of torque.
Wow.
It's absurd.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, please do put a note on screen if that's wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is that. It's
yes,
ridiculous.
that's the sort of final production aim. The this pre-production prototype is limited to half power, because elements of the car haven't been finished yet. But nonetheless, that's pretty ridiculous. So
this video was very confident in asserting that these cars were going to happen, and that this was a near future. These cars are not some pie in the sky, university project. This is what the future could look like type thing. This is a car that's actually going to happen.
Yeah,
and I saw that and I was like, that's encouraging. That's got to be a good thing. That we are hopefully moving towards a world where electric cars aren't just normal cars, except heavier and kind of worse at going around bends. It has to be a good thing. But I did some reading outside of the video, and I do have some concerns, unfortunately.
Yes.
The primary one being that the way that they have raised, to my knowledge, their most recent, investment of capital was to pre-sell. I think it was 101 Apteras. I don't remember the model name off the top of my head. They pre-sold 101 of these cars to a large investor, a company who is going to use them for some service in the future. I don't really know.
Yeah.
But they pre-sold 101 of them for, I believe it was around about $33.5 million, which on the face of it sounds like quite a lot of money. $30 million it is a lot of money in most circumstances, but for a car company who currently doesn't have a manufacturing facility or tooling to make any cars at all.
Yeah.
$30 million is not actually that much,
No.
especially when it comes with a commitment to not sell your first 100 cars for profit and to give them away in return for the money that you've already received. It gives me concern that their investors don't actually have that much confidence that it's going to happen.
Yeah, like the feasibility of that, also that sort of practice of selling cars you haven't made yet. That's what got Tucker done in back in the 40s.
Yeah.
business
Obviously,
it's
practices...
a last-ditch effort by the sounds of it. And that's not the way that it's being talked about in the media, so hopefully that's not true, but that's the kind of thing that a company does when it has no other option.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm... The reason why I introduced this as something to talk about is I'm not saying that, if Aptera goes bust, then we're all doomed. It doesn't have to be this company in particular, but the idea and ethos behind this car is more the direction I think we should be heading.
Yes, I do like it.
I think if this was the first time that a concept like this had been done, and we were promised that a concept like this was going to be made, I'd be far more optimistic. And for the record, I do sincerely hope that Aptera are able to get this into production and that people do actually buy them.
Yes.
And that this is successful, because for, anyone using a car in a city, for example, there's no good reason why you wouldn't want to use this instead of an electric Mini, because this would just be better and probably cheaper, and definitely cheaper to run.
Yeah. And it looks amazing. Everyone would look at you.
But through the late 90s and through the 2000s and even into the 2010s, we saw quite a lot of these hyper-efficient hybrid, or it was mostly hyper-efficient hybrid cars.
Yeah.
That were basically just tech demos by existing large companies.
Yeah, what was it, the VW XL1?
Yeah, I'm thinking of like that 100 mile per gallon car, or I think it did more than that actually. It was
the XL1 was I think 250 or something ridiculous, but
yeah, it was insane. And those cars never happened. And I think it's because I want to be wrong. I just have this horrible feeling.
I think it's because at the end of the day, efficiency doesn't sell.
No,
it's not profitable.
The car business is not profitable as it is.
Yeah,
and
just selling a good car isn't the way that you get a lot of money selling cars, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, but just sort of as like a thing that I think I agree that even watching the video I was sort of somewhat skeptical, but no, this is more what I think electric cars should be doing. It's great that they can do the slam your head into the headrest, ridiculous number of Gs and acceleration and all that. But
which this can do as well.
Yeah, I mean, not as much as a Model S Plaid, but
I think with 4,500 newton meters of torque, it would probably do it even better.
But it's this sort of but that's not what the aim of electric cars should be. The whole reason that we're trying to make them a thing is to save the planet, bluntly, or a way of saving the planet. Obviously, they're not the single silver bullet, but that's why we're trying to encourage them, but the way that they're being made right now doesn't facilitate that, and this does better. Even if this particular car isn't the car to do it, I hope that it marks some kind of pivot in automotive thinking.
Exactly, that would be very nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereby maybe companies that can afford to lose money for a couple of years on a project like this might be inclined to do so, because there clearly is an appetite for something like this.
Yeah.
Well, we can but hope. If you're
crossed.
$1 billion CEO and you're listening to this right now, please consider investing in efficient electric car projects.
Yes.
on a much different note, the Porsche 911 Dakar and the Lamborghini Huracán Sterrato.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, quite.
Fucking brilliant.
Yes, so I know, just before we move on to the big discussion, we obviously when we had this discussion last week,
yes,
but I quite a bit prefer the 911 over the Lamborghini.
Me too, yeah.
I think remove the fog lights and the roof bars on the Lamborghini and I'm much more on board. But
I get that, yeah.
And I'm going to do the Aztec thing again. No.
I don't know.
Understand why it has those, but I don't think it makes it anywhere near as pretty as the 911.
Yeah, of course, the 911 is significantly better looking aesthetically, but those, I mean, let's be honest, those lights that they've bolted to the front are awful. The plastic wheel arch extensions, they're just laughable. But it's the most Lamborghini way.
I do agree with that. Yeah.
I do agree that it's a very Lamborghini way of approaching the same thing as the 911 Dakar. However, it does just end up looking a bit too much like the Forza Horizon version of itself. For me.
Yeah.
Lamborghini, unfortunately, that is kind of the order of the day in supercar world, though, at the moment. I mean, you see, at least I do. I see an announcement of some, insane new hypercar from the company formerly known as Gumput or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is, and it's got a ridiculous amount of horsepower from some tiny displacement V6 and a hybrid system, and I just go, I don't care.
Yeah.
This car exists only to be in Forza Horizon. It's the only reason it exists.
Yeah. No, I do get that. And I think it does look very, very awesome. And they both do. I think the 911 looks a lot better, but the Lamborghini looks a lot sillier, and that is what sells Lamborghinis.
There is value in silly.
Yes.
Let's not beat around the bush. There is inherent artistic value in silly.
Yeah.
The fact that the 911 Dakar already exists means that it's a good thing that the Huracán Sterrato exists in its current form. Because if they were both just trying to do the same thing, it'd be a lot less interesting.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. But yes, I also prefer the 911. Porsche always is playing in, or like, pays lip service to its heritage. You can get the Porsche Heritage Pack on just about any Porsche. They're always playing out how we've always existed. We have this great engineering lineage, and that's why you should buy a Porsche. That's our USP. So beyond, I'm happy that they've actually done it. They've actually gone out of their way to make a car that in some way actually pays homage to one of their, their rallying history.
Yeah.
Because they could have just as easily made a Cayenne Dakar.
Yeah.
But no, they chose to make a 911 Dakar.
They didn't do that.
Exactly.
Or just made a normal 911 that's got some stick-on bits, but they did actually go to the effort of making it apparently feasible to go off-road, which I think is...
at the very least, take some dirt tracks at speeds that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
I've heard that both of them are surprisingly capable. The Porsche more so.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. No, that's it's interesting. I'm happy to see. I'm always happy for some rally respect, and I would be lying, especially the options that the 911 Dakar is available with are quite limited, which is actually probably a good thing considering Porsche options list.
Yeah.
But so it's not available in many colors. However, I think that color it's in right there is the best color it's available in, and in that color it looks very good. You can
spec it with the full PTS color, like anything that they'll paint to sample if you pay them the money.
Yeah, but that'll be $30,000 on top.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, $30,000 if you're buying one of these. How much is the MSRP on them? Because
I think it's like 170.
But I swear I've seen them on Auto Trader for 280, 300. I mean,
quite possibly, yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that is the Porsche problem. That is the. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is just absurd.
Yeah, but happy it
But I love
exists. Now, sort of the quick discussion about it I wanted to have before we head off is that yes, both Lamborghini and Porsche are both VAG. So
Yes.
we can't say how much of sort of cross-fertilization there was here. However, Lamborghini and Porsche are, somewhat independent of each other. Is sort of a rallyifying supercar thing going to become a trend?
Possibly.
Are we going
part
to
of me hopes so, because the from what I've heard, these cars are not just potentially you can take them into a field, but some elements, particularly of the Porsche, mean that it is kind of more usable every day. I mean,
I would trust
it kind of is that bit more rugged.
as a
Apparently
daily
it's damped
Porsche.
better. It's got better suspension travel, of course.
But the better suspension, would allow for better damping, allow for a nicer ride.
You'd be less scared
however-
about speed bumps and potholes. I think it'd be a lot less stressful to own it because,
I agree.
it's a bit muddy. I'll be fine.
I'm going to go to the CEO of Audacity's house and make sure him and his family have a very nice time. Apologies, Joe's internet died very briefly.
It does that
Yes.
frequently.
If you could continue.
I was definitely saying something that I remember. I just feel like the 911 Dakar looks amazing, but it is also the most livable with Porsche. And I think, at least 911, I think if I was to buy any of them, I would much rather have one of those than any other one, to be honest.
I agree completely. And this is
I
kind
think that's
of
fair. Yeah, me too.
this is the flip side of the should more companies rallify supercars question. Is part of me thinks yes, because it would mean that there is more livable versions of the cars that are most interesting. But the flip side is there is precisely 0% chance that anyone makes one that is better than the 911 Dakar.
Yeah, I would be very.
Yeah, that's true.
Think it would be very unlikely if they did. Yeah.
Because thinking about it,
Oh.
Ferrari aren't going to do this.
They're not a hope in hell.
No.
They never would.
I doubt it.
Ferrari does not copy. No.
Well,
That is-
I mean, if we just simply pretend that Puro Sangue doesn't exist, then
Oh,
No,
my God, what a horrible
no. That's not an SUV. That's What were they trying to call it again? Like an FUV, like a Ferrari utility vehicle. That's,
Oh, eat shit.
yeah, because
it's just a fuck you vehicle.
yes, indeed. Ferrari. That's Ferrari's whole thing. Like we Ferrari are special. We do not copy. Ferrari starts trends. We do not follow them. So they're not going to do this. Not a hope in hell. Honestly, the only one that really jumped to mind for me of a company who might try and join the trend if this does turn into one is McLaren. I could
see
picture
that,
McLaren
maybe,
having a shot at it.
Maybe.
It's a
In
very
fairness, after
dim
the-
light. It's a very dim light, but I wouldn't be completely surprised.
They've done crazier stuff. It just feels like that their focus is somewhere else. I mean, they don't even have an SUV to try and capture that market.
No.
And good for them.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, good. Agreed.
Ooh, actually, Lotus. Lotus could come out with a
Yes.
Rally Amira, and I think that would actually be pretty cool.
That would be wicked. I would love that.
That would be pretty cool.
Like a manual, supercharged V6, rear-wheel drive, jacked up. Oh, that'd be awesome.
Which is exactly why it will definitely not happen.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yes. But, yeah. I mean, this endeavour here, evidence pictured in front of us,
Yeah.
is evidence that it's not all terrible. Good
Yeah.
things can occasionally happen, or at the very least interesting things.
Sometimes.
Well, things
we are allowed good things if you're very rich.
Yeah, indeed. And isn't that the sentiment of the
In
time?
other news, water is wet. Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. So this is the Chrysler have debuted a new concept called the Chrysler Halcyon.
Yeah.
This is a generic late 2010s concept number 3.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As I said last time we tried to record this, Chrysler have decided that actually they're Lucid Motors.
Yeah, it tells you absolutely nothing about the vehicle, like what their styling language will be, I think, unless... Because there's no way they're actually going to go for that. It's Chrysler, for God's sake. I cannot see...
The styling language is just
computer mouse
with a light bar.
Yeah, but that's that is the styling language of the day. That's what every new EV is. It's pod with it's pod with strip light. That's basically it. The one unique thing.
But wait.
Yes.
Sorry, go on.
I will say the one unique thing about this is that it has sort of like a Targa fold up roof situation going up.
It has, as has been described by the articles, in a stretch of the truth that is, well, often seen in automotive press, but this one is especially egregious. 6 doors!
Please define a door to me.
That kind of is the problem. Is, you know, if this car has 6 doors, then every electric convertible has the roof counts as a door.
Yeah,
which I think is an odd interpretation of what the word door means.
Exactly.
Indeed.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's cool. I guess, you know, it's. I'm not.
You've got to open 2 doors to get into any of the seats.
Well, look,
I assume it'd be all automatic, but
yeah, and
I guess the side windows aren't integrated into the folding bit, are they? They're on normal.
Yeah. So you know, it's like a neat. I can't really imagine what purpose it serves, but it's like a neat little thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But yes, no, the sort of the point raised before. I can kind of see where they're coming from with this, having sort of seen the Chrysler Airflow concept, which they are going to make. It's going to launch in 2025 or something. That's also got very generic electric SUV light strip styling, and as does this, so it's evidently something they're pursuing. And so obviously the first thing that jumps to mind is this and the Airflow don't look like Chryslers.
No,
they do not look like a Chrysler. But then that also...
but what does a Chrysler look like?
Exactly. That raises the question, okay then, but what is a Chrysler?
Yeah.
Because...
I don't even think Chrysler can answer that question. I think they're trying to establish what a Chrysler looks like with concepts like this. But there's just so little imagination in defining... Because this is... It's forgettable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice looking car. It's a satisfying shape, but it's not.
There's no features.
You see it on the street, you're not going to think, "Oh wow, that looks like a Chrysler."
Yeah.
More than that, you're not going to think, "Wow, that's the new Chrysler." Like,
yeah,
you know, like when when companies before have come out with a radical design change, you know, list any number. It's sort of been like they've been able to sort of, again, it's always the fine line of make it look unique and definably whatever that company is, but at the same time new. So you look at it, you look at it and you go, wow, that's the new Alfa Romeo, you know. Because even when the Giulia, the Giulia, for example, when that came out, when the Giulia came out, they hadn't made a saloon for what, nearly 10 years.
Time.
Yeah, very very long time. But it was still just so obviously an Alfa Romeo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because Alfa Romeo's got a very distinct and unique design language, and I think there was a little bit of feeling when the new Giulia was released that it wasn't Alfa Romeo enough. But it was Alfa Romeo enough that people could look at it and go, well, that's an Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
This Halcyon concept, it just looks like the Rockstar knockoff version of itself.
Of a Lucid.
Yeah. No, it's really tough, because if we look back in history, the only sort of recent Chrysler design trend that they've had is the what the 300 had, and then that sort of branched over into the Voyagers as well, which is that, I don't know, will kind of look like a Bentley, I guess, or try and look like a butch Bentley.
When was the last time Chrysler had a truly distinct, and not just distinct, but distinct and desirable design language?
Exactly, because when I think, maybe like early 60s, but okay, maybe late 60s if you look at Dodge as well, because like the Challenger, but like specifically Chrysler rather than Mopar as a whole. Specifically Chrysler, I think, the last sort of great revolution of a desirable Chrysler. Okay, people forget that when the Chrysler 300 sort of 2000s era came out, it was actually quite popular. People really did quite like it.
Oh yeah.
But it stuck around too long. The Chrysler 300
it definitely did.
Well, I find it endearing, the fact that it was still made until this year, but I understand that it was horrifically outdated. I just liked the way it looked, and so I'm not going to complain that they're still making it. But
I think sort of the taste amongst the public, at least as I understand it, it's overstayed its welcome.
I would agree.
I think for most people, that car is Chrysler.
And that's the problem. That's the problem with the brand. That car is Chrysler, and that car is old.
Yeah,
it is old. But they could have taken, because it's a big looking car. It's a big lazy looking car.
Yeah,
and they could have taken some, because they clearly were selling them. They were making them for fucking ever. So why haven't they
that's
taken
a good point.
some of the design elements?
They're not going to keep making it if it's not profitable. So they must have been making some amount of money from it.
You'd expect so.
But because the Chrysler 300 was trying to sort of it was in a way part of the 2000s muscle car revival, going sort of because it has like the retro butchness about it. And I think, there is a way to sort of try and carry that forward, but I think what might have been the understanding in the Stellantis higher-ups is that whatever that is, that needs to be reserved for Dodge. That's Dodge's USP. Chrysler has to find something that's its own. And because when I think back of some really distinctive looking Chryslers, I think back to like the late 50s with the forward look thing that they were trying to do. That's like the last time Chrysler had like a radical, desirable, forward thinking thing.
And undoubtedly somebody at Chrysler saw this Halcyon drawing and went, that's it. That's the future, man. And they were just so wrong. Because it's not the future. It's 2015's idea of 2017.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And I did say last time we tried to record this, because, at least for me, when I think, when I think of like a distinctive Chrysler, I think back to the land yachts of the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
And at least what I said then is that you can't really bring that back. You can't have that being retro, because those cars don't make sense in today's world. There's a reason they died in the 70s. But I say that at the same time, if they were able to incorporate some elements bring back the large American saloon in the same way that Cadillac tried to do with the CT6 and are going to try to do imminently with the Celestiq. if Chrysler can sort of pitch themselves in that same category, try to bring back the big American saloon and maybe have a little bit of 50s flamboyance with it, that is what will make Chrysler unique. That is what will make Chrysler.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. But it's going to be difficult to build that on an existing Stellantis platform, and so it probably won't happen.
Yeah.
No, it's a tough conundrum. You know, I don't envy the people at the Chrysler design department who came up with this. And to be honest, I'm not even really knocking them that much, because what else are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
What is a Chrysler? I mean, that is the question that has been reckoned with in the meeting rooms that spawned this car. And like I said, it's a perfectly nice looking car. It's looks well proportioned, it's got satisfying curves to it, it's got creases in the right places, but it's not unique.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And it doesn't look like a Chrysler.
Yeah, no, it's a very, very tough job. So, you know, it is what it is. I guess it would be kind of sad to see Chrysler go, given how old a name it is.
Yeah.
I think it's been gone a while, though.
Yeah,
I think
that's
in
the
a
trend
way.
of reviving.
In a way, yeah.
Really.
No.
I
it's
guess
very
we will
tough.
see.
Yeah. Moving on. Sort of, yes. Briefly touch on this. BMW are going to make the touring version of the i5,
Yes.
and VW have also announced that they're going to make an estate version of the ID7, which raises the point, sort of, again, that we discussed. The estate, seemingly, is far from dead.
Apparently so.
Which is excellent news.
Exactly. You know, every, sort of harkening back to the MPV thing, every estate an MPV sold is an SUV that isn't, and that can only be a good thing. And I think you raised an interesting point, Fred, with the maybe more companies have said they're interested in producing an MPV because although it's not on the books yet, they are anticipating that anti-SUV regulations might be coming soon, especially from the EU.
Yeah.
I could see the EU. I mean, I don't think the US would ever do it, but the EU might. And when it becomes more difficult to buy an SUV, more people will go out and buy an MPV in their estate. And I think that's why, or is maybe a reason why manufacturers are keeping estates on the books.
Yeah, I think the trouble that they're going to have is that the messaging around SUVs, since the SUV craze really took off in the kind of mid-2000s, the messaging has been something that we were talking about earlier with the Cybertruck, which is, if you love your family, you need to be in the biggest car on the planet.
Yeah.
And
because that's what will keep them safe, that's what will prevent them from dying in a crash.
Yeah, exactly. Completely ridiculous and utter nonsense, but the problem that I think manufacturers are going to have, particularly manufacturers like BMW, who went in hard on SUVs, is that if they want to, if part of what they want to do with keeping estates around is plan for a time when they're not going to be able to sell as many SUVs for any reason, they're going to have to basically come up with some way of packaging the message of, we may have lied to you for 20 years, but this time we're telling the truth.
Yeah.
You don't need an SUV. You can buy an estate instead. And I think for the group of people who really have bought into this idea of you need a big car to be safe, it's going to be difficult to sell them on an estate car or an MPV, because they're just going to look at it and their brain has been programmed to look at it and go, unsafe.
Yeah, no, I can, because it's not also like that discussion is also the fact that, maybe they're trying to push estates because estates will get a better electric range than an SUV will. And if that's going to play into any future legislation, that's another reason to not push SUVs. But so if they are going to try and have to push estates more, then yeah, that's a very difficult thing that they have to approach. but I think we can see what they're trying to do. Because even though the i5 Touring, the i7 Touring, or whatever they're called, are very clearly estates, they are quite high riding, and they've both got sort of that black lower strip to try and create the illusion of higher ride height. And the rear slope on the i5 Touring is a little bit more extreme than I've seen on previous BMW estates, maybe trying to give the illusion more of an SUV. I think they're going to try and do it by disguising the estates as SUVs, which is frankly ridiculous. But
it is ridiculous.
But if it's what sells estates over SUVs, then
they've discontinued the Taycan. I think it's the Taycan Sport Turismo, but they're still doing the Cross Turismo.
Exactly.
So you can still get the estate one, but you have to go for the higher riding one because then more people buy it because it's more like an SUV, I guess, which is depressing. But that people would be fooled into buying a vehicle that is fundamentally worse in pretty much every single way just because it has some cladding. But oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But, your beggars can't be choosers, I guess. Maybe is a way of looking at it. If it means,
I guess that's the way.
If it means that estates start eating a bit more into the SUVs market share,
then we can't complain really.
Then sure, it could be happening in a better way, but that's it's a good thing nominally, I suppose. So yeah. Although one quick comment on the ID7, I have now actually had a proper look at the front of the ID7. I'd only seen glances of it before. The front,
yes.
Yeah, no, the front is not good.
No.
It does. I think I said it last time, and I stand by it. It looks like a fish that's been stung by a bee, or it's pufferfish-esque. It looks like you could, if you were to take some air out of it, it might look like a normal car, but it doesn't.
Oh. VW's design language at the moment is poor at best.
Yeah, no, it is poor. I think it's because they're trying to move VW up market, like VW as a name up market. Because premium is what makes money these days.
It's because there is absolutely no money in the lower market segments. I mean, all VW Group brands. I mean, even like
even Skoda.
Even if we say, exactly. I was going to say, like, Skoda's arguably even more at market than VW now, and it's just because there's literally no money in selling the base spec.
No.
Unfortunately not, no.
We've had that discussion before, I'm sure. There's many places, Anyway. Moving on. The most recalled car manufacturers of 2023 have been revealed. Do you guys want to guess what they are, which you haven't done ever before?
Yeah, sure, we'll do that. I
have absolutely no idea. What could possibly?
Okay, so the upside of this, we get to move through it a bit faster.
Yeah.
So number 5, the 5th most. Okay, I will remind the audience we are a European-based podcast. Almost said completely the wrong word. A European-based podcast, and so these are recall figures from Europe. These are not from America.
Yeah.
So, 5th most recalled car in Europe, or car manufacturer in Europe of 2023 was Citroën.
Not surprised.
This was to do with a fault in the ECU that could result in higher emissions.
Oh no.
Yes, this was a glitch that has affected multiple manufacturers from the PSA side of Stellantis, and so therefore it comes as not much of a shock that in 4th place is Vauxhall/Opel.
Shock horror again.
Yes.
Wow, who could have predicted that?
Yeah. Also, I've just noticed in this picture, that is a left-hand drive car with a German number plate, but a Vauxhall badge.
I guess it's some.
It's
They
unusual.
probably, like, for the press pictures, just, like, swap the badge over when they're going to do ones that they send to UK publications.
Yeah, but then, like, not even bother changing the number plate. That is...
We're not worth it. We're not worth it.
Yeah, no, that is... I mean, yeah, no, we're not, but that is shockingly lazy.
Oh.
Number 3, however, is not from the PSA side of Stellantis.
Shock horror.
Nor is it from Stellantis at all. It is Bayern Motorwerke.
We're being fancy today. Some of us can pronounce German.
I thought the B was doesn't it technically stand for Bayerischer?
Oh, yes, it does, but shut up.
Oh, they're having a nerd
Sorry.
off. Nerds. No.
See, when I'm a nerd, it's cool, and it shows off the fact I've got good knowledge. When you're a nerd, it's annoying.
When
I'll shut up now.
somebody
I'll
else
just
is
stay quiet.
1% more nerdy on a subject, it's just not on. It shouldn't be allowed.
Let me have my little moment.
It was going to be me or the comments section.
No, that's a very good point.
That is true. We can't let them have their fun.
Exactly. Like, if there's anyone who should be denied fun, it's the people in the comments section. Thanks for the tips for the algorithm. Now piss off. Right.
We're so nice.
We are. We are returning to Stellantis for second place with Peugeot. It's the exact same glitch. I'm fairly certain, like, the Citroen C5, is that the Grandland X and whatever Peugeot that is.
Maybe.
They're all the same car with a different badge.
Yeah.
Like, so, it's sort of cheating a little bit. To score this
3 different cars.
to score this highly in the recall stats, they've sort of cheated a little bit. They've sort of gamed the system.
They kind of have min-maxed this
cheeky
leaderboard
buggers.
a little bit.
Min-maxing recalls.
If only they could do it for some actual worldly benefits for their vehicles. Oh, that'd be the day, eh?
Anyway, but just to top things off, in number 1, the most recalled car manufacturer in Europe of 2023 is Mercedes-Benz.
Why?
Deserved simply by virtue of how absolutely hideous their cars are. I know you can't recall a car for being ugly, but
you should.
But you should, yes.
You should.
No, I don't. They're really addicted to making truly horrendous-looking vehicles that are also so boring at the same time.
It's just like the vague pod shape.
It's
like...
It looks like it was made for, like, Back to the Future 3. Wait, which was one set in 2. Where they just, like, got a vehicle. They got the Citroen DS, that made sense, but, like, make it look smooth and futuristic, but in Mercedes it just looks ugly.
It looks like 1998's idea of 2020, but on a real budget.
It looks like a concept car that you would see in a book, but, like, not one of the good ones.
Yes. Yeah, no, I see that. There is actually, I think I remember I had a car book when I was very young. I mean, I've still got it in my room, but it had all sorts of concept cars in it, and one of them was the Audi Avis Quattro.
I might have had the same book, you know?
Right.
I know I had a book like that.
But if you can picture the Avis Quattro in your head and look at the EQS...
Yeah.
There's a little bit more of it going on, except, the Avis Quattro had a mid-mounted W12, which, I think that can forgive most
forgives
sins.
a lot of sins, yeah.
Yeah. So, a little bit more detail on BMW and Mercedes. BMW got recalled because an airbag issue was discovered on BMWs dating back to, like, the mid and early 2000s, so they've had to recall a shitload of old cars. Yeah,
my partner's mum got the letter for that for their old 3 Series.
Did we get to the bottom of whether or not that was related to the big Takata issue?
I don't think we did.
I don't know if
editing bin man, fuck you, find out.
I mean, my first guess would be no, because didn't they try and... weren't they supposed to like solve all of the Takata stuff like years ago now? It's been so long.
I can't. The timeline's messed up in my head because I know the airbags were installed in cars from the mid 90s through the early 2000s. I think even into the late 2000s. I don't remember when it came to light and when. The recalls actually started. I don't know if that was
makes
more
sense.
recently.
Were they filled with shrapnel or something? Was that what it was? I can never
Oh
remember.
my god.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there was
an
unfortunate case in the US of a person who fell victim to effectively a grenade.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, the airbag
face.
that I am going to steal a joke from well, there's your problem, but the airbag that kills you instantly.
Yeah.
No, it's not ideal. Apparently, no.
The one thing that you're supposed to be able to rely on. Well, not the one thing.
The safety device that kills you
that's
instantly.
Getting a crash. At least I have an airbag. Well, you do.
At least I have an airbag. Arrow points to head. Clueless.
Exactly.
But BMW's going up to, I think, the mid 2010s were part of this recall as well. So
maybe a different issue then.
Yeah. And then there was one specific issue that that Mercedes were recalled for. I think it was a faulty entrance light or something. Not actually entirely substantial. Apart from, I think it was the EQS that was alone recalled 4 times over the course of 2023.
If you get to there like the third time, like to drop off the recall, can you be like, can you just keep it? Like, do I have to have it back? Can we just sort something else out? Because
what point does it fall under like lemon law?
Yeah.
How many? At what point is an entire model just every single unit is simply considered a lemon and promptly destroyed?
Yeah, no, like it's
and it's almost like the fact that the car manufacturers can get away with this. Like, okay, yeah, sure, they recall the car and fix the problem, but how many people have had that problem?
Yeah,
like over the course of them owning the car, and going to the Takata example, sometimes those problems can be lethal. Like, obviously, car manufacturers don't intend on those things happening. They're not being malicious and scheming about how they can kill as many people as possible to serve Satan or something. But the fact that the system that is in place effectively allows them to get away with it with very little consequences.
It seems like recalls have been quite normalized. Particularly, it feels like in the advent of the electric car age, the kind of last 15 years or so, because of the prevalence of over-the-air updates and, this idea of, well, it's still new technology, we're still, figuring some stuff out. The idea that you can just sell a car that isn't finished yet, and then fix it later. It's not just a problem with the auto industry, in fairness. It's a problem across pretty much everything. It's really frustrating.
To draw an example, maybe it doesn't quite. It's a much smaller financial investment, obviously, but the thing that big AAA video games that can cost $70 now. Every chance is when you first get the game, it's going to be a buggy mess, and you have to wait for a week 2 patch.
Yeah.
But it's that
City Skylines 2.
Oh god!
My flatmate has had more than a thing or two to say about that.
I was so excited for that. I was so excited. I played it for like 2 days, and I got to the point where I literally could barely open the game because it would run so my city. Because it would just run so terribly, so I just gave up. I haven't gone back to it since.
I've never written such a long Steam review in my life.
I was so bitterly disappointed by that, yeah. I pre-ordered. I know I should know not to. I'm stupid, but...
Yeah.
I'm related to cars, but yeah.
Well, there's cars in the game.
True. True.
Which is why we're announcing this is now a City Skylines 2 podcast.
But I can't imagine anything that would sour your love for your new car, no matter, even if it is terrible. If you like it, then having to bring it back for three recalls?
3 or 4. I think 4.
Jesus. Would you not? Yeah, I would just be so cross. Because, you get a new car, you're always telling everybody about it. You're like, oh, yeah, I've got my new car. Oh, where is it? Well, it's back at Mercedes. It had to have another recall. Isn't this number 3? Well, yes, yeah. It's just embarrassing for such a high-end manufacturer. Yeah, sorry.
The terrible thing as well is you couldn't even, in good conscience, choose to sell it after the 3rd recall because you're sick of it. Because, of course, you've already lost £50,000.
Yes, that is also true.
Yeah, depreciation.
It's a bitch.
Anyway. Yes. Moving on. The Renault 5 has been announced, and to my own surprise, not only do I not hate it, I actually quite like it.
Yeah.
This is what I would think could be considered good news.
Yes.
It's not all over.
Exactly. We're tentative we're so back.
Possibly.
Maybe there is levels of back have yet to be determined.
we will update you shortly.
We're definitely back-ish.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it looks neat. I like it.
Yeah, it's
quite cute.
kind of funky. It's a bit high riding. I know they're trying to go for the urban kind of
like the iGo X and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because I guess
I think
they have to sink or swim, No,
yeah,
but I can't remember.
It's when the concept for this first came out a couple of years ago, my first immediate thought was they're not going to make this.
Yeah, me too.
They're not going to make this. But then gradually, as it's got closer and closer to becoming a reality, it's stayed the same basically the most part.
I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, no, and we've got the little retro 80s 5 graphic on the side and on the back as well.
It's quite fun. I definitely like it.
And it's a cheap electric car, which,
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, which is what...
The price is finally coming down on this tech. We all knew it was going to happen because it happened with internal combustion cars, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And we knew it was going to happen. And the fact that it finally is means that there's maybe some hope left in the world that things can actually get cheaper.
Possibly.
Which feels alien to us at the moment, but
yes.
What the everyone has kind of accepted that the Model T was the first car to bring cars to the masses. Do you think we've had that for electric vehicles yet? I don't think people love Teslas, but they're not.
Yeah, but
exactly,
they're not. No, because even the Model 3 is not cheap.
No, I don't. Or are we ever going to have that really? Because it's. I don't know. I'm curious.
I think a car
something with that right combination of factors.
It's too competitive. I don't think there'll be a moment like that. But I do hold out hope for a moment when you can when you can buy a practical electric car with a reasonable amount of range and a reasonable suite of features for less than 20 grand. And I don't think we're that many years away from it.
Yeah, unless inflation means that 20 grand is worth about 4 pence. In which case...
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But, even adjusted for inflation, a Ford Model T today costs less than 10, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the... going to a different example, adjusting for inflation, cars like the... depending how you option them, obviously, but cars like the Mini and the Hillman Imp were roughly 13 grand if you adjust for inflation. Is there a single car you can buy new for that?
I don't.
Yes, I think you might be able to get a Proton or a Dacia.
Yeah, I was gonna say your closest you're gonna get is a Sandero, I think.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have a look. What is the number one cheapest? Okay, it's the Ami. That doesn't really count. That's barely a car.
No, that doesn't
barely
count.
a car.
And number two is apparently the Kia Picanto, which starts at 13,600.
Oh, that's more expensive. That's more expensive than I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when the Sandero first came out, and you could get a vehicle like the base model, but it was a vehicle that size for less than 10 grand, brand new.
Yeah,
it was
I had a friend,
and like substantially below 10 grand.
Yeah, and you could get some options and still keep it under. Yeah,
I had a friend whose dad got a brand new Duster for, I think it was like just under 9. I think it was like 8.
Wow,
like 8,800 quid or something. This was a little while ago now, of course, but
yeah. I guess because vehicles also need so much more technology now to be sold that it's worth trying to, it's not worth trying to get that as cheap as possible. You can just add a few grand and people will still pay for it.
And people don't buy cars, they finance them.
That's the other thing, of course, yeah, the big thing that we must confront every single episode. But yes, that is, of course, a very salient point to make. Anyway, just to close off on the Renault, they've also announced pretty openly, there's lots of pictures you can get out and look, that they're making an Alpine version of it.
Oh God, yeah.
I've heard about this, and I think that will actually be quite cool.
Yeah, I'm sort of interested how, in that regard, they're sort of treating the Alpine name a bit like Fiat treats a bath.
Yeah. If they make it a bit wider and look quite cool, then I think it might be nice. I just hope they don't make it completely hideous, but I guess we'll wait and see.
Remains to be seen how long Alpine's actually going to exist for.
Yeah.
It's also worth remembering.
It is strange that
the A110 is widely loved, but there's many elements of that business that are not looking so fantastic right now.
Aren't they trying to move
marketing division?
Yeah. Aren't they trying to move it into more of a kind of upmarket Renault brand?
Yeah, they're developing multiple SUVs
Cupra and something like that.
Well, sort of like a halfway house between Cupra and Porsche, and Lotus as well. Like that sort of
disgusting, but oh well. I think they should have. I think personally, the Alpine should stay the Alpine, and they should have used Gordini. But I guess that doesn't mean as much because Gordini was always more of a modifying other vehicles brand name rather than their own thing. If you make a Renault 5 Alpine, it's not something that's ever existed before, but a Renault 5 Gordini was a thing that existed was very cool.
Because that's the difference, I think. It's not going to be a Renault 5 Alpine or even an Alpine 5. It's going to be an Alpine A270 or something.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was the way they were going for that. I thought they were just going to go like the kind of Fiat 500 and above 695 levels of separation, where it's like slightly different name, but they're sold in this.
There was an old Renault 5 Alpine in
was there?
Yeah, there was.
Oh, okay. I was not aware of that.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be without history.
Yeah, but oh well.
No, they're sort of like, it's the same body shell, but it's going to have like a hotter drivetrain, a different front fascia, and an Alpine, whatever badge.
Yeah, I still never know how to pronounce it.
It would be Alpine because French, but yes,
that just doesn't. I say that now, but I know if you ask me in 2 hours, my first response would be Alpine because I'm a proper Brexit geezer. I don't care about the pronunciation.
Ate the French.
I don't speak foreign.
Ate French.
Simple as.
Love North FC, simple as.
I only eat proper British food like pizza and Chinese. But yes,
anyway.
I look forward to seeing these on the road. They're like the Honda E. They look good, but
genuinely quite nice. And I like the fact that they're advertising it in a proper, nice, gaudy Renault colour.
I might go to the dealer to have a look at one when it comes out and see if I can blag a test drive. That'd be quite fun because I've never driven an electric car.
I mean, I say that. I mean, I haven't either.
No.
Anyway,
group trip to a Renault dealer. Persuade them to let us drive a 5.
But it is now time for the segment on this podcast called The Reds Are Coming.
I was not prepared.
You should be more prepared next time.
I think prepared means taking off my headphones.
Right, okay. Anyway, so yes, this is the segment where we talk about the cars, primarily electric cars as they are today, but the cars that are going to come over from China and completely demolish our market and beat everything. And very soon that we'll all be driving Chinese cars, don't you know?
We'll all be driving Chinese cars soon, yeah.
Yes, quite. And so
the best part, of course, would be the floods of tears from Elon Musk if that were to happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, unless he can get his tariffs in place.
Yes. Now, there's a few things that have come out because that's sort of the nature of this segment is pointing out how this news is constant and we're always being bombarded with it.
Mm-hmm.
But yes. So first of all, the two big things in terms of production is. Now, I know we had this thing last time we tried to record. I still don't know whether it's supposed to be BYD or BID, because I look at that, my brain wants to call it BID.
I've only ever heard it pronounced BYD because it's the acronym.
I'm pretty sure it's an acronym, yeah.
For Build Your Dreams. It's so tacky.
It stands for. Have we verified that? Is that definitely actually what it really stands for?
No, it is, because when you see them, it says that plastered on the back in, spelled out letters. It's incredible.
Awful. Absolutely awful.
It's like the kind of thing that you'd see people make out of, Halfords, the little stick-on letters that you can get, but that's just the brand name.
It's like, I get sponsor emails from, dodgy companies that don't actually exist with more convincing names than that.
Yeah, I'm half expecting the next them to soon announce the "It's 5 o'clock somewhere" car,
yes.
And or the "Live Laugh Love" car.
Try your best, GT.
Yes. The badge is that poster of a cat that's dangling from a tree branch.
Oh
God.
Anyway, so they've announced that they're going to build a new factory in Hungary for cars for the European market, which is an interesting move because sort of part of the whole thought process of why Chinese cars are going to dominate is because China has such low labor costs. Don't look into it. Just don't look into it. China's just they can make cars cheaply. Don't look into why.
Yeah, it's fine.
And
it's not even so true anymore. Labor costs have been going up significantly in China because, of course, 25 years of economic super growth. It's led people to feel like they should be entitled to places to live and.
Yes.
Food.
Don't worry, we won't have that in the UK either soon, so we can have some solidarity with our Chinese cousins.
Indeed.
Oh.
But that is definitely true, but nonetheless, the cost of labor in China is still quite a bit lower than it is in Europe. However, there is also the point to be made that of all the European places to start a new car factory for cheap labor costs, Eastern Europe is the hot thing right now. Well, I say right now, has been for a little while. There's a reason that there's a Jaguar factory in Slovakia. This factory in particular is right on the southern border with Serbia, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's just sort of interesting to note, I think, that they're choosing to make this move.
It shows a new level of commitment to the European market. So I guess it will remain to be seen how that does, really.
Yeah.
Have either of you seen a BYD in person on the road?
I know Joe has.
Yeah.
But it's not from the current wave.
Oh God, yeah. I was racking my brains, but yeah, it was one of the E6 I saw. The one that was trialled to be the London taxi in about 2010. A very bizarre looking electric thing that looks like a kind of generic Matchbox car. Very bizarre. There's one near me. I didn't know they ever sold them. It was possibly like one of the first times in recent years where I've seen a car drive past and thought, I have not the faintest clue what that could be. Like, no, because it's just so bland. But for the new ones, no, I haven't yet. I know that they're selling them quite a lot in Australia. I have a friend over there whose dad has one because they're very, very cheap and they're selling like hotcakes. Yeah. But that's normally, I think, for company car buyers. I don't know how well they're actually doing on the private.
I saw one in Tesco car park. Oh. So there's at least one on the roads of Great Britain.
And it's in Tesco.
And it's in the Tesco car park. It wasn't parked in one of the EV charging bays. It was just
Was there a guy who complimented someone on their Saab who was trying to sell it?
Yeah, in an alternate universe. And then he was trying to sell that in the Tesco car park.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Do they have dealers? I assume they must do somewhere. I've never seen one.
I mean, like, they could be doing like a sort of direct selling thing. I don't know.
Maybe.
They probably struck up a partnership with somebody else. They probably don't have their own.
Quite possibly.
Oh yeah, no, like it's certainly certainly something like that as well. In similar news, Sherry have announced that they might or could, various non-permanent words of that nature, build a car factory in the UK by 2030. Now, this is something that I think the government might be quite interested in, or at least the current government.
Quite possibly.
Because maybe not quite so much as they might have been a couple of years ago, though, because right after Brexit, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to bring it up, the government was famously just going around signing as many trade deals as it possibly could.
Yeah.
To make it seem like, oh, look at all the great advantages we have of being outside the EU. Meanwhile, all the trade deals it was signing were terrible. Just awful.
Look at these £15 worth of Japanese fish we can get for 20% less.
Wow.
In exchange for the crown jewels.
Yeah.
And also during that time, I remember reading something about how obviously Honda are leaving, but Nissan are staying. And that was sort of seen as a great Brexit victory.
Great.
That a car company that was already here are choosing to stay.
Wow, we're not that terrible.
Yes. And I remember reading about it, and something about the grant, like because some grants were given to Nissan during that time as well.
Yeah.
Something about the timing of it and the fact that the amount of money that in grants that Nissan was receiving, I don't think was published. It all came off to me. And this is speculation on my part, so I'm putting that out there. This is but it came off to me as being quite suspicious of I'll put it bluntly. It seemed like the UK government was paying Nissan to stay.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, or at least
in a roundabout way.
Yeah. Anything to try and encourage them to not leave, really, which makes sense from their perspective. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but you can understand why they would very desperately not want the other Japanese manufacturer building cars in the UK to also bugger off.
Yeah.
Didn't exactly go to plan, did it?
No.
But, yeah, so I don't think that the current government is as eager to do that as the government of 4 or 5 years ago. But it may be something on the cards,
Possibly,
something to look out for. And now we'll just sort of run through the slew of vehicles we have here. Mm-hmm. We have in the bottom left Series, which it looks like they're trying to go for like a coupe SUV thing.
Yeah, we never seen that before.
Yeah, no,
What a
shocking
completely
new
unique and
revelation.
novel idea.
Indeed, and in the middle we have Skywell.
Which is basically just a Tiguan Touareg with a different badge. At least that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah,
I
no,
can see
maybe
that.
a little bit BMW.
Yeah,
They
I
were
can
such
Mercedes
terrible
as well.
names. They
Yeah,
just-
it's the only thing that
Skywell.
I can really say about a way that a lot of these cars look is that they look like the GTA 5 versions of themselves.
They
yes.
do. Skywell
But,
is a
the
dreadful
one car that
name
everyone
as well.
forgets they added. Like you go onto the in-game auto and you're like, oh, when did they add this thing? You look and it was like an update from like 2 years ago. It's just that nobody paid any attention.
Also, yes, Skywell, as Fred pointed out, is oh my god, Skywell. Like
It's like they asked
Skywell.
ChatGPT for a futuristic company name.
It's the kind of thing I would come up with in automation if I had about 2 minutes. I just couldn't be bothered to finish, like, come up with a proper name.
It sounds like one of the default city names in City Skylines 2.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
The topic of this
I
podcast.
To bring it
forgot
back
we were
to its
City
real
Skylines
topic.
2.
Sorry about the diversion we had for 2.5
we
hours.
keep getting so distracted about other topics. We should be ashamed of ourselves, really.
But yeah, no. And of course, we know that underneath the Skywell disguise of the Touareg disguise, of course, underneath all these Chinese cars are Renault 12s.
That is true. That is true. Although,
Apart from this MG,
that
which is, I'm
MG
pretty sure, based on the Tommy Kairos headset.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
what I was gonna say. I can't take these stupid bloody... Oh man, I knew I was... There are 2 vehicles in this world. Oh no.
But yes, so finally, you thought we were going to go a whole podcast and escape it. No. Autocar Render's here to bite us in the ass.
Yeah.
And yeah, MG have announced that they're going to make an electric car. What was it? Under 25 grand?
Yeah.
Apparently.
It's a promising promise.
Which Tesla have also said they're going to do, and Renault have also said they're going to do. So
it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to deliver it, but I guess we'll
exactly.
see.
The fact that there's some competition hopefully means that they'll kind of hold each other to it.
Hopefully,
yes.
Is my hope. If only one company says they're going to make a car 10 grand less than everyone else, inevitably, it's only 2 grand less than everyone else because they can sell it for more. But if everyone's targeting this specific price, hopefully,
then
it will actually
have to go, oh cock, we actually have to make a car for 25 grand.
Yes. And whatever this is, I'm sure it will be better than the Cyberster.
Oh, definitely.
Yes. But before we move on,
stupid name.
VinFast are coming to the UK.
Wow!
I've never been more excited
The world's
for a car brand in
second
my
most
life.
valuable car company for 20 minutes, VinFast.
Yes. They held that position so they can say it forevermore. That's how that works. So yes, this is VinFast. As we covered in the first episode of this podcast, I think pulled a fast one with some good old fashioned financial and stock manipulation, and briefly became the world's second most valuable car manufacturer. But yeah, just selling cars to their shitloads of cars to their parent company. You know, this is the world we live in.
Is that even what it was? I thought it was even more simple than that. I thought it was basically just they moved a bunch of shares. I think they moved 99.5% of the outstanding shares in the company to a shell company, so the market was extremely illiquid, and then just bid up the remaining 0.5% to artificially inflate the market cap. I thought it was basically literally just fraud.
I mean, that I think could, very well have been what happened. Either way, completely ludicrous. And they've announced that they're coming to the UK, specifically with some electric SUVs, which hopefully won't be based on the same platform that they're currently using for their ICE cars, because that is the previous generation BMW platform. Gotta love it.
In fairness to it, as far as electric SUVs go, this one on screen now, I will say it doesn't look horrendous.
It looks more, I will say, and given the fact that, comparing to some of the examples we've had this podcast already, compared to Series and Skywell, which barely even look, this looks like something.
Yeah, those Series and Skywell are kind of like, you know how they can't advertise that plastic cheese as cheese. It's like cheese product.
Yes,
they are car product. This might actually be a car.
Yeah, like it
looks like a car.
They are the fruit flavored beverage juice drink to like this maybe actually having some semblance of something that was once alive in it.
Yeah, this is definitely from concentrate, though.
Yeah, absolutely. That's sort of the point. The point I was making.
It's not fresh.
It's like the rival to the BMW milk. It's the VinFast oat drink. It's so close and yet so far to being an actual legitimate rival. I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but it's just a bit. Well, it's extremely nondescript and bland, to be completely honest. But
yeah,
from what I've heard about the current available electric VinFast as well, they are heavy even for the class of car that they exist in, which is a tall order. I mean, those cars are really heavy.
Yeah.
And as a result, the dynamics of the vehicle leave a lot to be desired, or so I have heard.
Yeah, I heard something similar, but worded a bit less politely.
I will say, as much as we laugh now and laughed before when the situation first came out, I did do a quick Google Earth of the VinFast factory in Vietnam, and it is colossal. It is a massive factory. This is not...
I believe that.
Yeah, this is not something that's going away. Hopefully they will get better.
I guess if we had podcasts in the 1980s, people would be laughing at all these Hyundais and Kias. They'll never make anything worth driving.
Yeah.
And I guess we will be prepared to eat our words at some point in the future.
Yes, indeed. But anyway, finally, the yelling at cloud segment where, I mean, this is supposed to be the part of the podcast where we complain as if we haven't complained the entire time. And two things here. The electric Maserati Quattroporte replacement has been delayed until 2028.
Jesus.
And Hyundai have announced
that... It's a long time.
Yes, exactly. And Hyundai have announced at least... was it just in the UK or in Europe as a whole? But
I think it was in Europe as a whole.
I read the UK. Is it Europe as a whole?
Okay, no, I was just double-checking. I think it is just the UK. But they've announced that they're withdrawing all internal combustion N cars from the UK market. Which,
boo.
Yeah,
it's
just kind of sucks. I like hot hatches. I'm it's sad to see more of them go away.
It is the whole of Europe.
It is the whole of Europe.
Yep.
Oh, really?
It seems sad because they've spent, the last, I don't know if it's been a decade yet, but, pretty committed to this whole building of the N brand as being their hot hatch thing, just to axe them. I know there'll still be N versions of their electric things, but people really liked the little petrol N cars, and I don't think they're going to warm the same way to electric. I mean, we don't have an electric Golf GTI yet, do we? I mean, I know there's the GTE, but that's a separate thing. Most brands seem to recognise that their performance hatchbacks are better placed being petrol for the time being, simply because more people will buy them. It seems like a strange decision.
That is.
How many of them are they selling though? Because I can count on two fingers the number that I've actually seen in person.
That is true. Yeah,
and there's also the argument to be made that whether people will warm to, like, the people who are going to buy these cars are going to warm to the electric N cars or not, they're going to have to.
True.
So,
Yeah.
there's that. go to hop back to the Quattroporte for a minute. Delaying it until 2028 really makes me wonder if they're actually going to do it at all.
My little in podcast conspiracy theory is it's going to be based on the same platform as the new Chrysler Halcyon.
Yes. Which in turn, I think, will almost certainly share some stuff with the Dodge Charger that's going to come out next year.
Yes, yeah.
That actually would not surprise me.
But I'm just more curious as to what the hell Maserati going to do until then.
Because...
Well, I think they're going to do the same as always, which is fuck all.
Yes,
true.
Which is not good for Stellantis, because
no,
Stellantis is a huge group. You know, like that. You know, where the merger of PSA and Fiat Chrysler, really did create something that is, you know, it's not VAG sized.
No.
But it is.
It's got to be getting relatively close. Maybe not in terms of like vehicles sold per year, but I mean, Stellantis is absolutely enormous.
Yeah. So they're a big company. A big company needs to make a lot of money to survive, and if you want to make a lot of money in cars, you make premium cars.
Yeah.
And the only two premium brands that Stellantis has is DS and Maserati. And Alfa Romeo as well, a little bit. But, you know, whereas I think they are trying to move Alfa Romeo up market. I think, you know, they're cancelling... They can't replace the Ghibli. There's no way they're going to replace the Ghibli. The Ghibli was not a car that sold well.
No.
So if they sort of replace the Ghibli with an Alfa Romeo car that's like a 5 Series rival, which I think they can pull off.
Yeah.
Because...
Then what's the point in Maserati at that point, really?
Exactly. Maserati is, I think... That's going to try and be your sort of Porsche angle. Yeah. With, you know, because besides from the Quattroporte, the only other sort of the only other sort of sport-oriented limo that's on the market is the Panamera. That is the angle I think that they are going to try and take Maserati in.
It's going to be so difficult to convince Panamera buyers to buy a Maserati, though. Even if for no other reason than Maserati have got quite a spotty history when it comes to things like reliability,
customer
and
service,
particularly depreciation.
Oh, yeah,
it's brutal.
Yeah. So yes, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but without Maserati, Stellantis loses out on a very profitable market segment. And I think that's why we've seen the push to revitalize Maserati. They first introduced the MC20 as a halo car to grab attention. They brought back the Gran Turismo because that's sort of like coming from an era that people now have a lot of nostalgia for.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, why there's been such a push. And it's why the Grecali got introduced.
I think it remains to be seen if any of this is going to be enough to transition Maserati into the next stage of vehicles as a
because you know, like
people aspire to.
Because it's like, as the old adage goes, you know, you've got to spend money to make money, and while there is a lot of money to be made with Maserati, they need to spend a lot of money getting it there.
They do have to what I said before when we were talking about the size of these companies. I did some quick Googling. By market capitalization, Stellantis is significantly bigger than VW.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Not by revenue. VW is still bigger by revenue, but I have to imagine Stellantis probably makes a little bit more on the old margin side.
Quite possibly.
And they're worth more. So they're not short of cash.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's just sort of, it remains to be seen whether they're going to spend enough money to get Maserati to where they sort of really need it to be if Maserati is going to survive.
Yeah.
Because besides that, as I said, the only sort of two premium brands that Maserati has, Stellantis, is Alfa Romeo and DS. And where I can see Alfa Romeo going places, they're not going to get into like S-Class full-size luxury with Alfa Romeo. At least not in the foreseeable future. And I like DS. I think they're kind of cool and nifty, but it's not a strong enough brand, not yet.
No. And they need to put in a lot of effort to make it a strong enough brand, really.
And a lot of time and effort, yeah.
Yes.
So it's just sort of like, what are we... maybe you can throw in Jeep as a premium brand, but they're only really a premium brand in the US.
Yeah.
They're not really sort of seen in that
And they're
light
not premium as in like luxury. They're just premium because
because they've got the Wagoneer now.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Yeah.
And they did try and make Wagoneer its own brand, and they've given up with that now. So,
it's a tough situation because I really like Maseratis. Like when Maserati gets it right, they get it so right. Yeah. There is something that's special and unique about Maserati. Mm-hmm. Whether the MC20 and the new Gran Turismo have it remains to be seen, and whether they can grab hold of it and keep it is that. I mean, that's the $1 million question, the multi-million dollar question for Stellantis.
Yeah. I'm yet to, Maserati's got a rich history. It's a great name. It's a great story. Is there any market segment right now that they can realistically do better than everybody else? And I'm yet to see any evidence that there is, to be honest.
Yeah, because like the best analog that I can draw to Maserati as a company is Aston Martin, and they're also in the shitter right now. So, that as much as that sort of old school Grand Tourer luxury, sort of not like glamorous and showing off a bit, but not with the same ostentation as Ferrari and the to sort of really get in the role playing here, the frankly complete rudeness of Lamborghini, the sort of offense that you're to be so garish. The sort of old. That's the thing to me. Aston Martin and Maserati are old money to me. In a way, somehow, that even Ferrari just quite isn't.
Well, because I think Ferrari is also very aspirational, so it is also, like, if somebody with no taste wins £1 million, they're going to go out and buy a Ferrari, not an Aston Martin.
Yeah.
But here's the really key difference, though, unfortunately, is Ferrari is extremely valuable and profitable.
Exactly, yes.
And Aston Martin and Maserati are not.
Yeah, being that aspirational, the thing that appeals to, I don't want to say lowest common denominator, because Ferraris are great,
Yeah.
Of course I'll have a Ferrari, I'm a petrol head.
Yeah.
But, they also have an extremely broad appeal, because like even a non-car person's favorite car is a Ferrari.
Exactly, yeah.
So it doesn't even matter what Ferrari it is. It's a Ferrari.
Yeah.
So, and you're not going to say Maserati in the, or Aston Martin or even Jaguar.
No.
In that context.
Well, that's what the future of Maserati is a bit up in the air. Then I guess it will remain to be seen.
Has it ever come down?
True, but I feel like in the 2010s when they had the Gran Turismo and the Quattroporte, they were pretty.
It's about as grounded as they ever got.
Exactly, as safe as they've ever been. Yeah.
It looked like there was a potential for them to be kind of an actual car manufacturer.
Yeah,
it never quite materialized though, because again, like how does a person I can understand how a person might justify buying an extremely cheap used one, but for there to be used ones on the market, someone has to actually suffer the pain of buying one brand new. And I cannot put myself in the headspace of a person who even dreams of, why would you even get one of these on a lease deal? It's just going to be a pain.
No, I can't really understand it either.
Yeah, because the Quattroporte is very old now.
Yes.
Like, it is. Like, they're not going to... There's no chance they're going to keep it going until 2028 for the replacement to come.
I mean, I'm surely emissions regulations are going to stop it before then.
Yeah, no. And they're also phasing out the V8 that the Trofeo version of the Quattroporte has. So, yeah, there's no way they're going to keep it going. They're phasing out the Levante as well. So they're going to have the Grecale, the Gran Turismo, and the MC20.
Yeah.
And I have seen a handful of Grecales, like maybe. No, I've definitely seen a few. But is it? I don't know if it's going to be the big seller they want it to be.
No, I don't. I can't imagine.
I don't remember the last time I actually saw a Maserati on the road.
No,
I'm trying to rack my brain, and I think it might have been like a Levante on the motorway a year ago. You just don't see them.
You really don't.
Yeah, no. It's gonna be tough, frankly. Because the Grecale is very much pitched at the Macan.
Yeah.
But and they're going to introduce a new Macan very soon, and it's a new Porsche that's going to sell like hotcakes. So that's a little bit of a dead end there. The Gran Turismo is good from all I've seen about it. It is also ludicrously expensive. You could go out and buy an Aston Martin or spend a little bit more and get a Ferrari for the same money. And not for the same money by definition.
Am I right in saying the Gran Turismo is only a 6-cylinder as well?
Yes, it's a V6.
I feel like the old V8 was a massive part of the appeal of the Gran Turismo. I'm not sure this modern engine has the same effect on people.
It's the same. It's the same V6 from the MC20, so it's it's a good engine, and also like there's.
Where is that engine from originally? Because I mean, it's not a Maserati in-house job.
I'm pretty sure it is actually. I think that's sort of the whole point. No, I think the whole point, whole reason they tried to make this big fanfare with the MC20 of it being a new Halo car, Maserati's back, and we're back because we made our own engine.
Oh, okay.
Does the MC20 really satisfy the conditions of a Halo car, though? Because a lot of the marketing was around, like, this is a kind of affordable supercar that's really just a sports car. It's not really like a true, like, if you had all the money in the world, would you buy a Maserati MC20? The answer is no.
Because it's, I don't know if they were trying to, because it's not affordable. The MC20 is a ludicrously expensive car, even by supercar standards.
Well, of course. How much is a new MC20?
Oh, like over 200. Easily over 200. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah, they're really expensive.
May have misremembered.
I think if you, option them...
If
you option them... If you option them at all, they'll be over 200, yeah.
And they depreciate like a
stone. Ignore everything that I just said. That was utter nonsense. That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
For some reason, I had it in my head that they were kind of, 911 priced.
No. I mean,
Jesus Christ.
911 turbo. So, I guess that's the sort of power levels that they're aiming it at. I do like Maseratis, and if I don't know, I know it's me personally, and I am not representative, but if I had the choice of Aston Martin, DB12, let's just assume it's called the DB12.
It is the DB12.
For the sake,
it is, yeah.
It is. Thank you. Choice of that, a Gran Turismo, or a Roma. It would be a tough choice between all three of them for me.
Okay.
And if I were to rule one out, I'd probably pick the Ferrari to rule out.
Oh,
that's me because I'm a contrarian hipster, but
yeah. No, I kind of get that. Now that I guess that I don't know. Aston Martins without the V12 and the big ones kind of disappoint me a little bit. So I would be less. Otherwise, if it was a V12, I would still absolutely lust after the Aston. But I would say that does make it quite equal between the three of them, really, because the Maserati looks pretty good. Do we know the pricing on it yet?
Yes, we do. It is also ludicrously expensive.
Good.
Yes, and it doesn't get over 200 as quickly as the MC20, but it does.
Oh, scary.
So, but yeah, no, it's going to be a long march for Maserati, and whether
Possibly
it can survive
into the grave.
Well, yeah, exactly. Whether it can survive it is highly dubious, I think, right now.
Yes, dubious is the best way to describe it, I think.
Yeah. I hope they do, because I'm a big Maserati fan.
I hope they do too.
I do really like
Maserati.
Well.
I am out here in these mean streets fighting for Maserati, but I don't have the wallet to help. So
no, it's all very well people with opinions on cars, but not the money to go out and buy them, to talk about it. But
exactly, yeah.
Maserati's future will be decided by how many people do actually put their money where their mouth is about whether they like it or not. And I don't know. I'm not sure I have that much hope, but I do wish them best of luck.
Historically, we've known exactly how many people put their money where their mouth is when it comes to Maserati, and the answer is close to zero.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, on that unfortunate note, that's a podcast.
That was a podcast. That was certainly
a podcast. It was a long podcast as well.
For the first
we got
time.
through a lot.
Yeah, very long.
For the first ever time, I've completed a podcast with you too.
Yeah, no, this is
I'll never trust Audacity.
I'm going to try my
life.
best to get this out in a timely fashion. I won't, but yeah. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are.
Hopefully, there's at least one
indeed.
person, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know. To you, Michael from Swindon.
We might be about to really fucking
Big
creep
swing.
someone out. One guy's been like absentmindedly half listening, just went. But yes, to you, thank you, Michael from Swindon, for watching.
Anyway, yes,
that's been a podcast.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Oh no!
What?
What do you, Fred? Do you want to plug yourself again before you go?
Yeah. That's a personal question,
sure.
isn't it?
Yes. I've been a guest apparently. I'd forgotten that. Yeah, at Automobilistic on YouTube. I make videos about racing car history. If you're interested, which if you've listened to 3 hours of this, you probably are. So go and check it out.
Yes.
You're either interested or a masochist.
Indeed. Okay. Whew. Almost missed that. All right. Second time lucky. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.